What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Limit Breaker podcast, the show in which we break our limits, like the title says over here. My name is the Immortal Phoenix, and I'm the host of my brand new podcast. And today we're going to be talking about, we're going to be going over a lot of topics here on today's video. Now we're going to be going over a lot of topics, but we're going to be bringing some guests over so that way we can, get through the topics and, try to see if we can parse out any bit of information that we can from those said specific topics. So today we're going to be, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce myself for the time being, and I'm going to, let you guys know what this podcast is pretty much all going to be all about. Hold on. Sorry, I just need to brighten it up a little bit. So, the Limit Breakers podcast is pretty much going to be me talking about, anime topics. I'm going to be talking about, specific, do some specific games and, little bits of stuff on the Limit Breakers podcast. We're going to talk about power scaling discussions. We're going to be talking about, a lot of things right here. All right. So now we're going to be talking about, a lot of things on the Limit Breakers podcast. But since this is my very first episode, oh God, I can't stay on topic for one good second. Okay. Let me reset everything. All right. So, my name is the Immortal Phoenix. I'm the host of the Limits Breaker podcast, the show in which we break our limits. And I'm going to be introducing myself, and then we're going to be getting into some Boruto topics, Naruto topics. Then we're going to be getting into some debate and hot takes, and we're going to be going over some manga and narrative, stuff throughout the entire 2 to 3 hours we're going to be, streaming. Kamui Uda should be joining sooner or later. So, let's get into this. Oh. Yo,
Hello.
What's up, Kamui? Oh, what's up, Kamui? What's up?
Okay, sorry. I wasn't with my laptop when you called. So.
That's all right.
I have no idea when Udi will get here because he's being weird. And I don't know if Melo or anyone else is showing up. So if you want to start, I don't know if you already started, but if you haven't started, feel free to start. Okay.
I've already started. I wanted to introduce what my podcast is going to be about, and then we're going to get into some Boruto, Naruto topics, and then so forth and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we're going to do for...
If you're still doing your little intro, go ahead and keep doing it. It's fine.
Yeah. So, on the Limits Breaker podcast, I'm going to be talking about, what I talk about on my main channel, Naruto, Boruto topics, but I'm going to be branching out into, different things. I'm not just going to be specifically for Naruto and Boruto, but, I might want to talk about Kagurabachi. Maybe I want to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, little stuff like that. I might want to do power scaling videos or versus battle videos, little stuff like that. So, the Limits Breaker podcast, I'm going to try to see if I can stick to one specific niche before I want to branch out to different niches, because I also want to include gaming. I want to kind of invite, people to, come play games with me like Brawlhalla or maybe, Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, stuff like that. But that's going to be later on in the future. So primarily right now, I'm sticking with Boruto topics because that's, stuff I'm very versed in. And then any other topics like outside of Boruto and Naruto, I'm eventually going to get into and try to get versed in, what I want to talk about. So I also have a few projects. Now, the Limits Breaker podcast, this is one of my first projects. I actually have 2 other projects I'm working on. And I'm not going to disclose too much information, but I think you already know one of the projects that I'm working on aside from my podcast channel, which is my manga. I think I told you guys that on the on one of the I would say streams where I mentioned about Renegade.
You have definitely, yep.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be I'm still working on, concepts, ideas, and the world building and everything for my manga. I haven't really fully fleshed out how I'm going to begin, the very first chapter of my manga, and maybe each arc down the line. So I'm gonna be trying to. I'm gonna be working on that in the meantime, but I haven't really been able to make time for that because of work and school and trying to get some stuff. Trying to save up money to deal with school stuff. Yeah. So I'm creating a Limited Breaker podcast as a way to have extra content added onto not just one channel, but to my other channel. So I can direct people if they want to watch, more, like I said, more content, I can direct them to my podcast where I go into detail and depth into what I'm talking about. So, yeah, that's pretty much it about for the Limits Breaker podcast of what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a lot of other things in the future, so be sure to stay tuned for that. All right, you ready to get into some Naruto Boruto topics?
I'm ready.
All righty.
It looks like Mello and Udi are here now.
Yep.
I mean, do either of those two gentlemen want to say hello?
I could if I needed to.
Well, Udi, do you need to?
Well, Immortal, do I need to?
Yeah, go on ahead. I don't mind.
I definitely did answer the question.
I don't mind.
Alrighty. Hi, Udi. Hello. Hello. Udi here. That's me.
No way.
No
Yes.
way. This is
What about
Kawaki,
Mr. Mello?
Udi, and we got Mello here. I think he's working on something with his mic. I think he sent it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
I was just assuming he was doing free stream stuff.
Oh, okay. But they can hear everything. Not set up yet. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Okay.
So let's do this. All right. So let's start off with the very first topics. All right. So this is the very first Naruto, Boruto, power scaling topic. So I don't know if you guys discussed this on, your the Walkie Talkie podcast, but sorry, not comics. I was say Kamui's limiters.
Well, Immortal, if you want to stall for like 2 more seconds, that's how long it's going to take me to go live. And by seconds, I mean like 20.
Oh, all right.
Really,
Udi.
Otherwise,
by
it'd be
seconds,
20.
you mean 20.
Yeah, I know.
You mean by 2, you mean 20.
Yeah, I'm saying the exact same thing. Yep, okay. And live, hopefully, is what we'll find out. But yes, okay, Immortal, with your Limit Breakers podcast linked in the description below. What is your first Limit Breakers podcast topic, Immortal? Now that we're live on the Walkie Talkie channel, to where Immortal hosts this one.
Yeah.
Back to the copy host an episode.
So my very first topic is going to be about sorry, I keep saying Kamui.
It's going to be about Kawaki.
No, sorry. It's going to be about Kawaki's limiters and how strong he is compared to Code. And just how strong
All right,
he is.
Udi, I already know what Udi's going to say, so go ahead, Udi, do your thing.
So, Immortal, why do you think that Kawaki has his limiters off?
Well, he wants to kill Jorah and eliminate any threat in the entire world, just to make sure that Naruto is safe. And that also includes Boruto too. That's if he doesn't get his karma seal under control.
So that answers the questions of why Kawaki would want his limiters to be off. the question is, as of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 23 at the end, why are we assuming that Kawaki has his limiters off at that time?
Well, I do
Well,
have a question.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, real quick. My mic's going to be bad for a moment. I'm updating software thing. But I have a question for you, Udi. Given the way Kawaki didn't attack Jura in like chapters 11 and 10 and 12 when he was just standing there watching and he instead flew away to Hidari, why do you think he had a sudden change of heart? And now he's over here it's like, all right, let's go. Let me kill you, buddy. Like, why did he change his mindset all of a sudden?
Well,
What's
is it
your
really all? Well, I agree. It is all of the sudden, just not in the way that you think. Because I think in chapter 11, 12, 13, whatever, I think it's consistent as opposed to now where it's different. Because in chapter, what is it, 2, chapter 3, when he sees Boruto and Code sitting there, he doesn't attack Code first thing first. No, he attacks Boruto first things first. Wow, just like in like chapter 11, 12, 13 or whatever, when he's ignoring Jura to go to Boruto's location.
He wasn't attacking Boruto though. He was attacking Hidari.
He would have attacked Boruto.
No, he had already accepted. Like he knew he couldn't win because of chapter 9. He'd already been beaten up by Boruto. That would have played into his changed mindset in chapters like.
Why
11
wouldn't that
and
have? Why wouldn't him leaving in chapter like 2 or 3 or whatever not change his mindset there, or even in chapter like 7 or 8? So it's consistent.
Well, for one, he doesn't yet know that he's way bigger than Boruto. And two, attacking Boruto was strategically more sound because Code had already been defeated from his perspective.
Okay. Well, Hidari had not yet been defeated.
That's why he defeated him and then didn't attack Boruto, and he never attacked Jura. So the question is, why did he change his Jura feelings?
Well, I don't think he has changed his Jura feelings, considering he did attack Jura in chapter like 8 or 9.
Yeah, and after that, he lost, and he didn't attack him in chapters 10, 11, 12, and 13.
Yeah.
So why is he attacking him now?
Priorities.
Different. What was the what made him prioritize just ditching Jura in chapter 11 to go for Hidari?
Because Hidari was going after all those other people.
No, he wasn't. He was going after Sarada, who Kawaki himself tried to kill. He doesn't care if Sarada dies.
Well, he was also going after Konohamaru.
Who Kawaki doesn't care about.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't see what happened. Maybe Kawaki just got lost. Like, maybe he just flew in a circle on accident thinking he's flying after Jura. We don't know.
No, he did not get that. Is ridiculous, and you know that.
But to be fair, on a real note, we didn't see what happened off screen. Delta could have said something. We don't know.
It's definitely possible for sure. That being said, I would find it rather odd for them to have not told us by now.
Oh, well, Kamui, I agree, but I also find it rather odd that Mitsuki is listening to Konohamaru instead of going after his son in chapter 23. Well, I guess people just listen to other people in this universe now. Ikimoto just retconned characters into doing that.
I mean, I'm not gonna say you're wrong.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Interesting.
Okay, I should be back to my
Besides-
mic again. Is this working
Okay,
real quick?
that's better, yeah. Well,
Okay.
besides Kamui, even if we consider Ikimoto's part 1 story, and I'm just going to assume that Ikimoto wrote this part of the story, to where Kawaki's already technically lost, quote-unquote, to Borojiki. He knows he's weaker than him, so why is he fighting him in the Code Arc?
Say that again, sorry. I'm trying to figure something out right now.
So why would Kawaki fight someone who he agrees is stronger than him in the Code Arc? Wouldn't that be inconsistent with his character?
At what point are you referring to?
Well, first of all, he fights people all the time that are stronger than him in
Real quick. Which Kawaki at what time fighting who?
Borojiki in the Code Arc.
Before he got his karma back, you mean?
Yeah.
With desperation, Naruto was there.
Okay. Considering what he does in the prophecy arc,
involved.
considering his motivations from the prophecy arc haven't changed, don't you think he'd be pretty desperate in Two Blue Vortex?
Well, Naruto's safe for one thing, but so he's not going to act as recklessly. I mean, he acts decently reckless, obviously, but like he's not as reckless. That's when Naruto's right there and in danger.
Naruto was safe as soon as he was still in Daikoken. Everything Kawaki did that was reckless was after that in the prophecy arc.
Stop. Where'd you get this?
Hi, Sauron.
What?
I think he's talking to his dog.
Okay, real quick, because
I knew.
there's a button here that I don't know if it changed. So just really quick, can you just tell me if you notice any difference between what I'm doing right now and this here? Does it sound any different? Did anything happen? Is it identical as I switch back
identical
and forth between? Okay, then I'm not gonna worry about it. I don't remember what the thing does, and I was trying to figure out through the app, and the app is not working, so it's not helping me figure this out. I don't know what to do.
Okay.
But anyway, Immortal, what do you think?
Oh, what's up, Mello?
We're doing audio tests, just making sure mine sounds decent. That's all. Okay.
Yes, it sounds really good.
Nice. All right. What's the topic again?
We're talking about Kawaki's limiters and how strong he is compared to Code, and just how strong he overall is. We talked about this, I think, on your last stream. We're just talking about it again for my new podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, you're gonna have to rephrase that question again, Kawi.
You know, I feel like
restate that question again.
You know, okay. So just backtrack. Mello, you know what, Udi? I think you should ask the question because this is your argument, not mine.
At this point, Kamui, you're literally begging for it. You are asking for it, Kamui. Like, you want me to do this.
Well, because it's not that. It's just that I know you're just itching for the opportunity, so I just understand you.
Mello, when did Kawaki get his limiters off?
Oh, right.
Sorry, I'm high as hell, so you don't have to bear with
This isn't gonna help you.
say it one more time for me.
That actually might make it worse.
Oh, at what point in time, you can answer that however you want. At what point in time did Kawaki get his limiters off?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I agree, because that answer is not yet clear, aka hasn't happened yet. Maybe 24, 25, 26, could be somewhere around there.
It requires a lot of speculation, because...
It definitely does. It's a theory of when it could, since it's something that will happen in the future.
What I can say for certain is that it probably might have happened... What's so weird is that I think it probably might have happened in the pre-time skip, maybe when Amato was experimenting on him. Maybe this could have happened during TBV when, Kawaki just... I don't know. It could have happened at any given point, honest.
Wait, are you guys asking when he got them or when he got them
just let him go. Just let him go, Conway. and Malin, please. Just let him.
Oh, my bad. I mean, I'm high and I was like, did I get the question wrong?
Immortal, the question is when he got them off, not when he got them.
Oh, sorry. When he got them off, sorry. It could have happened. It literally happened probably like around chapter 19, maybe as soon as he demanded Amato to remove his limiters and just max up his offensive settings.
Mm-hmm. And then he probably immediately started booking it to the Sand Village.
Yep.
Wait, is it just a placebo? He just had them off the entire time. Is that where you're going?
I think so.
I don't know where he's going with this question. I still don't understand this question to this day.
No,
Cody is arguing that Kawaki still has his limiters.
Still doesn't have the limiters. Oh my goodness! Oh my gosh! I knew it.
That is a bizarre argument.
But Immortal, I agree with you. I think that's an important question. When did Kawaki get his limiters on? I think, throwing logic out the window, when Ikimoto decided he got the limiters on was at some point over the time skip. I do agree with you on that. And I do think that's important when you look at the code arc, especially as he's fighting Borushiki. Borushiki, who's like relative in speed to him or whatever, maybe Kawaki's a little bit more dominant, but he's using Ishiki's abilities. I think based on that fight, it's very clear to me that if Kawaki was fighting himself, he's just going to get badly injured the same exact way as Borushiki was, because it's clear that his offense is a lot stronger than his defense at that time.
Yep.
I'm glad you agree.
What's so crazy is that, I don't know, at first I thought Karma V2 was Kawaki's true power. Maybe it could be a part of his true power when he enters in his horn state, and he's just, and his power may have been amplified greatly in that state, in the same way Jigen's does when he enters in his horn state, and he just becomes a lot stronger and is just able to utterly dominate Naruto and Sasuke even further than he did in his Karma Steel base form. Who knows? But what I can say is that with his limiters on, his defensive state, his defense settings was pretty much set to probably max. Like, that's where his near limitless regeneration, ability comes from. Maybe that's something that they said in the manga, that he pretty much has near limitless regeneration, and that's how he's able to survive 2 hits from Jorah.
As opposed to like everyone else surviving hits from Jorah and without regeneration. But yeah,
I don't know. I think that could be an indicator of his near limitless regeneration. Who knows? Maybe if they were to cut off his leg, he could probably regrow it. We haven't seen that yet, because we know.
Nice show us that, right?
Yeah, because we know he's got. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if the anime says this or what. I heard that he has nanites in his system, which allows him to create constructs out of his arms and creates little shrapnels and blades and allow him to do all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah.
We already know that if those get cut off, it's all fine, he's all good. His original arm isn't affected, because I'm pretty sure Sasuke cut off his arm.
That's right.
He didn't cut off his arm. He cut off the...
you know what he means, but yes.
It wasn't his literal arm that he cut. He cut off the other...
The scientific ninja attack arm. Yeah. Is what he was referring to, obviously.
And he should have better regeneration than Delta. Delta got her leg cut off. Or ripped off. Or some. She regrew a limb. Didn't she?
Well, no, she had the scientific ninja attack thing cut off.
The thing that's different with Delta, though, is it's weird because Delta doesn't grow the wood-like, spiny, whiny, whatever, metal, rock, whatever, earth glob thing around her leg.
It looks
her legs
though.
just turn into the weird stuff. Whereas Kawaki grows the weird stuff around his arm. So when Naruto chops off Delta's legs, but they transformed into that stuff and then they just regrow back to normal. So it's like her ability is just a little bit different.
Just a little bit more proof that she is a robot.
She bleed. Didn't she bleed?
No, it's not. There's no bearing on that whatsoever.
Then why didn't she bleed, as Sauron just said?
No, I'm pretty sure she did bleed. Is that anime only?
Kawaki didn't bleed when his thing was chopped either.
You guys gotta be a little bit more specific.
This isn't a real arm.
She bleeds. Okay.
In the anime, Delta does bleed, but does that happen in the manga? Ood? Did you reread that at some point?
I'm gonna confidently say no.
Well, either way, Goro doesn't bleed either. When his intestines are being blown up.
I don't know what
Boro never bleeds. Boro never bleeds.
Okay, but to be fair, you can't say that. Boro doesn't have intestines. He doesn't have an inside. He's completely hollow.
I don't know what Boro is, but he's not a robot, which is my point.
I think we're not meant to take it too seriously. I just don't think they can show that much.
Okay, but I'm just saying, Conway, if you think that her real leg is turning into a scientific ninja tech, then do you think going into the Naruto fight, that was her quote-unquote human skin leg, or do you think that was already scientific ninja tech? That then was replaced by
Well, okay, so let
scientific
me just
ninja
go
tech.
pull up what I'll go find the thing that Katasuki explains Kawaki's ability
Because
because
if we're saying that Naruto blew up her leg and her leg is back, it wasn't regen, it just is scientific ninja tech now. Meaning she doesn't have skin on her leg, not
well,
real
no, it would just be
human
she
skin.
could just have regen. I don't see how that. If she just regenerates her leg, it'd just be her leg still, regardless.
Oh, no, that worked.
It's like
What do you mean
Victor.
it's not how it works? Does Naruto
Yeah,
have ninja tech heart because he healed it versus Sasuke?
I said that's not how that worked, not how that works. But thank you for misquoting me.
Pretty sure he did say works, but not how it works.
Definitely said worked, and I added the D very loudly, intentionally
I mean,
so.
regardless, it doesn't really matter either way. You can't just say it's not how it works. She has regen, so why are you just assuming he can't? All right. So anyway, this is what Katasuki says. As you have seen, we have detected extremely fine, almost microscopic scientific ninja tools all over his body. We believe they are affecting peculiar changes upon his very cells. His body has the ability to suddenly expand due to super rapid cell division. This is the same concept of regeneration, but it's being used to create new cells in this case, as well as to instantaneously harden or soften. For example, I myself observed him remodel part of his right arm into a giant spear-like weapon and attack a target. Which is also weird though, because Kawaki, I'm pretty sure. Now, I don't think this is 100% consistent. I'm sure there's an inconsistency, but for the most part, it seems like one of his arms will turn into the weapon. So let's just say his right arm turns into a sword, where his left arm grows the things around the hand. That was fairly consistent. It probably has somewhere where it goes wrong, but generally that does happen. So with Kawaki, are you going to say his arm is the
I
robot?
thought it was the same for both. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Well, no, he definitely has scenes where it grows around him, and there's scenes where it turns one of his arms into the blade. He might just be able to do it both ways.
Can he just do both?
He might be able to. But it seemed like he generally did it differently between arms. But I do think it's inconsistent there. So he might be able to do it both ways and just chooses to do it generally one way.
Yeah, depending on the
it's-
situation.
I think it's probably shown to be inconsistent, but in universe, it is one way.
Do you think it's one way for each arm, or?
If it is, I think that's like a subconscious choice. I don't think that was necessarily meant to be intended. It could just
Like,
be
when
altered.
Kawaki turns his hand into the sword, I'm pretty sure, isn't his hand still present? He just wrote the blade on his arm?
His hand, well, again, I think it's okay. Here, let me just go look for a few scenes, just compare real quick.
I mean, it's
I
like
think
Immortal
we
was
see
saying,
it
his whole
both
body
ways at
has
different times.
nanotites, mites, whatever they are in his blood. His whole body is a scientific ninja tech.
Nanites.
Nanotechnology? Nanites. Yeah, that word.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, that one.
Is
I gotta
Delta
find one
flying
where there's
because
those
of
speed lines?
Is Delta flying because of Shibai cells?
I think
No,
that's
She already
probably
had
just
shit by cells back when she had the rocket boots, so I hate that explanation if it's true.
yeah. I think it's probably just because of her scientific ninja tech body.
A lot of this probably found another way for her to fly off screen.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed in TVV. She doesn't use her rocket boots anymore. She just flies, which something tells me that she probably might have gotten. Oh, actually, no, not her, but I think the Akibi clone that Amato had in his in storage probably may have also gotten the karma seal implanted onto him. That was also a promise back in chapter 19, but who knows?
But
Wait,
that would have
do you think the other
something Kawaki
Delta
would have
has
had to have
it,
done.
or just the clone that Kawaki and Amado were talking about? Just for clarification, which one do you think has karma, or both? What are you saying?
A part of me wants to. Actually, a part of me believes that it's the clone that's within the tube that is like pretty much suspended in her resting state. So that's probably the clone that might have the karma seal. I don't know about the one that's active and just traveling with Kawaki.
I'm assuming that one doesn't have it,
No.
simply because there would be no need for Obito to be asking Kawaki to do it again. Otherwise,
Yeah. So there's also this. I think they're kind of hinting at the fact that maybe Akibi might become a brand new Otsutsuki. Who knows? If the Karma Seal does, if implanting Amato's weaponized Karma Seal onto Akibi even makes her a new Otsutsuki, but I don't know.
real quick, I sent some images in chat. This is the same arm, so Ikimato has just drawn it in different ways. It just whatever Kawaki feels like, I guess.
Are you showing the images right now?
Well, they're in chat.
Oh, I'll go look.
So do you guys think Kawaki even has that horn state at this point? Does he need it?
He
So we
should
just
have
use
it. He
If
should
he
still
doesn't use
have
it next chapter, if he doesn't use it next chapter, and they're still getting pushed, that I think that just confirms he can't access it.
But the question would be why.
I
mean,
mean,
like-
literally
I know what
zero
Udi's answer
idea.
is going to be, but that's not what the story's going for.
But to me,
Not
Yeah.
not like that he can't access it. More like Ikimoto doesn't want to use that form ever again, and like their apex is just going to be like just karma.
I mean,
Oh, that would be.
I don't.
Weird.
That would be really
Yeah,
lame and make
that-
no sense to me.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. That wouldn't make sense because that is a part of karma. His horn state
It's
is a
literally
part
just
of-
more power.
Yeah, it's just him delving into more power and just pretty
Even
much.
if the gap is smaller now, it's still more power.
Yeah,
Well, the reason why I kind of brought it up because they seem to be like integrating much closer now. Like they're flying. He can use Kokugan and base. So maybe like the integration reaches to such a degree to where the horn state isn't him diving deeper into power. That's just activation of karma or something akin to that concept.
What about
thought.
Jigen? Why do you think he would go into a higher horn state in order to get more power if he's at like 100% Otsutsuki with this Karma Seal extraction or whatever?
It might be something as simple as like vessel compatibility or
That's
some
fair.
kind of
Okay.
the whole like Karama Hema thing. What's the
I
word they
think-
use with that? I forgot the word. I forgot that word.
I think that if Kawaki can access all 8 Stokes of his eye, he wouldn't need the higher form. But that'd be specifically for accessing his abilities. He might still be able to like go into the
Yeah.
higher form to like get like a speed amp or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
in fact,
I mean, I'll make one argument that's not a real argument. It's only from a fan perspective. The other would just be actually in series. So the horn state is them using it's the karma's overlaying at its max capacity. It's like they're using the fullest extent of their Otsutsuki's power is when the horn comes out, basically. So if he's not using the horn, it would be weird for him to have been using the full power without the horn coming out. Given what they've already shown, that'd just be weird. And then second, this is the not argument, but argument. I mean, from Ikimoto's perspective, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, of course. But like, let's be real. Why would he want to just get rid of the coolest part of the karma transformation, the freaking horn, and just say, oh yeah, he's at max power without the horn now, never gonna draw it again? Why? Why wouldn't you want to draw the horn? Especially since narratively, it's a good depiction of Kawaki doing being the Otsutsuki killing Otsutsuki thing. Like, wouldn't you want to draw the horn? Like, why wouldn't you? So I would drop the series, man, if they to get rid of the horn.
I would.
And
I would.
he
Yeah.
put a lot of effort into the panels where the horn exists. So I'm like, I think he likes drawing it. So I think he would why not continue?
My
Doesn't
thing
make any
is-
sense to me.
Yeah. My thing is like the horn state is like just more power. And then you add that onto the fact that he just got his limiters removed. So that's just more power on top of power that he's already, now he's gaining more access to fight off against Jura. So that's just like, ooh, that's like a double
So
whammy
would you-
right there.
So would you say maybe his limiters replaced
eat ramen?
after the Borishiki battle? Because like that final fight when he got the Scar Boruto, like he didn't go into that horn state, if I recall correctly. I was always
That's-
curious about that.
Yeah, I
If he
think
was limited.
yeah.
Mm.
What I was gonna say
Why is
is,
it?
I think that's a little weird because in the future, in the flash forward scene, well, not really flash forward, the
Okay, if you'll eat your
future,
Campbell, you're gonna eat aqua food. So
the
we're gonna have to
fragmented
finish that.
future
I'll
scene.
be right back.
Oh, sorry.
Sauron, I think we can hear you.
Oh, I thought I muted. Oh my.
Yeah, sorry. I think what I was gonna say is like in the when Boruto was pretty much seeing what Momoshiki was seeing into his fragmented future. I think when you mentioned like that, I was also thinking about the horned state and him activating it again, but we never saw that for some reason.
Good point.
I was just like, huh. Even I was kind of questioning, can he activate that state again if he really wanted to? I was like, oh, maybe he
Like
can.
how
I feel
you
like he
said
should be
sorry
able
for
to
it,
because regardless of what Amino did was just convert his offensive power into all defensive. So, I mean, that shouldn't even affect karma, but even if it does, all that should mean is that when he pulls the horn out, he should have a better defense and better healing. It would just mean
Yeah.
that power is funneled towards healing. I don't see why it would limit the horn. I think he
I
just
hope-
didn't use it.
Yeah, I hope that isn't the case because I really do hope that the horn is just. I don't know if some part of me feels like the horn is part of maybe it's just a state in general, not like an offensive or defensive thing. But who knows?
I think it's just more of the Otsutsuki's chakra. Because, like, think
Yeah.
about it this way. When Naruto used Kurama's chakra, the more chakra that overlaid his body, the more Kurama features he gets. First off, it's the nails and the eyes, the claws. Then he starts to get the ears and the red skin, and eventually he gets the eight tail, and he's like a skinless fox and all that. He just gains more and more features. And seemingly it's working the same way with the Otsutsuki vessels. The more Otsutsuki chakra, the horn grows. So no matter what Amino does, he should still apply. It's just where that power is being funneled into would just change. First it was defense,
Yeah.
now it's offense.
I think if they're going to keep the concept of the horn, then it needs to be shown in the next 2 to 3 chapters for sure. Otherwise, it's just going to be like kind of lost, I think, to memory.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so what you can't definitely say though is in the first, so Kawaki only had 2 quote unquote fights before this, and he got beat before he ever ramped up to his final form anyway. Like against Jura, he gets
ended up being
beaten
stronger
pretty
than he
much as
thought they would
soon as
be.
he just activated Karma. That fight didn't last long. Then against Boruto, he gets beaten at base, activates Karma, Boruto runs away. So he never ramped up to Karma 2 at any point. The only thing that sucks is, so now he's probably going to have the chance to. What sucks though is now you're not getting a before and after of the limiters only with Karma 2 versus Karma 2. Because now you're getting Karma 1 with limiters to probably Karma 2 without limiters. And it's like, okay, but now you're adding an extra layer that wasn't there. So it's going to make Kawaki's difference way more drastic than it actually is. Which is kind of, but whatever. It is what it is.
Do we,
I think it's
oh, sorry.
I was gonna, yeah. I think it's completely fine to phase out the horn. I'm not gonna say I hate it nearly as much as Kamui did. Clearly, I think it's fine if they just like absorbed it in a base or whatever. Shout out Super Saiyan God, to where it's supposed to be at this point of the series, whenever, especially going towards the flash forward scene, the final fight, whatever that's gonna be. I feel like they're supposed to be accessing, controlling, harnessing a higher form of power, more like of a divine kind of being, entity, state, whatever. And to where I feel like it's similar to KCM, to where it's just clean, as opposed to the Nine Tails Rage form, which is monstrous, almost orc-ish, if you look at especially the Boruto movie and how Fuse Momoshiki looks there, almost like a freaking devil. So I feel like phasing out the horn, which is like more of an ugly thing, could work for like the main characters, and then you just have like other things be ugly, like Koji's eye roll, because he's not one of the main characters, and he didn't access that higher form power.
Then it depends on what they're doing to make that happen, because as we know, Chiken didn't do that. Now, I think Boruto doing what you're saying would make a lot of sense, but Kawaki is like that tricky one, because right now, at least, he's on that Otsutsuki path of power style thing. He's not doing the ninja-y way of things, so I feel like he would be a good character to be using the horn. Boruto doesn't have to, but Kawaki feels like a good person to be using it as of right now.
But at the same time,
And as long as
Sasuke.
they give you that, that arc going into that's fine. But they have to do that. As in just randomly doing it without saying a word, I'm not a huge fan, especially when it just was freaking cool. And as of right now, would be more symbolic. So they have to add that layer if they're gonna do that.
And Sasuke was the last one standing in Shippuden. It wasn't part 1 Rage Form Gaara, and Sasuke's like canonically the hottest character in all of Naruto. My point there is to say that clearly they're not just making him out to be this wrong, ugly character. He's just blind to a certain aspect of the controversy that him and Naruto are fighting over. I think it's going to be the same thing between Boruto and Kawaki.
That's fine. Like, I'm not saying Kawaki has to end the fight in his horn, but like Sasuke went into his freaking Biju Susanoo. Like, Kawaki can use his horn.
Yeah, but then I would just say that Naruto went into the Nine Tails avatar, and it's just as monstrous if you want to go that way.
Again, so Boruto can use his horn if he wants.
Yeah, but then that goes against the narrative of your saying of he's being the Shinobi, whereas Kawaki being the Otsutsuki, and I think he can be the Otsutsuki as long as he makes that his identity. He doesn't need to be the ugly, monstrous Otsutsuki.
No, I
as long
agree.
As he
but what I'm saying,
mindset.
But what I'm saying is, if he's gonna go from using the horn to not, then I think the story should present something that symbolically goes hand in hand with the lack of horn. Like, they should do something rather than just not doing it and nothing else changes. Like, they need to do the extra thing, is what I'm saying.
I think Kawaki evolving the Otsutsuki mindset would just be that in and of itself. They wouldn't need anything beyond that.
But he's got to evolve the Otsutsuki mindset. That's doing an extra layer.
But that wouldn't be, like, directly in the series in that same exact way that you're describing.
No.
In fact, it could have already happened.
He would have a mindset that is an evolved Otsutsuki mindset. He doesn't have to say, I've evolved it. He would just have to have the mindset that we can figure out is the evolved Otsutsuki mindset.
Well, for example, you could argue that Sasuke has the evolved mindset of all the previous antagonists before him, but he's not saying, I've mastered Kakuzu's ideology!
It's a great thing. I just said that he doesn't have to say that. I don't know why you said that.
Okay, well, I'm glad you agree.
I did have a quick little question, maybe deviate a little bit, but stay on Kawaki. His little chakra rod bow staff thing. Any thoughts about like the psychology of the character? Like, he just kind of shows up. He's using a weapon. Does he feel like he's not strong enough? Does the weapon is some kind of additive property in terms of boosting him, or from like a strategic standpoint, obviously, but also, what does that say about the limiters and his current state of power if he feels he needs a weapon to boost himself? And then on top of that, the psychological aspect, is he trying to mirror his like brother and rival Boruto, who is now using his weapon, a blade, more so than usual, more so than part 1? Or is it like what's the psychological thing with his tether to his like father figure Jigen as well? Any thoughts about that, or just Kimono just wants to get it out there? Yeah,
I definitely think either the Jigen or Boruto comparison would be really cool. But to address the kind of the most superficial answer would just be he was stabbing the eye because that's the eye Juro was charging up, and that was just what he was doing. That is probably one of the reasons at the very least.
Fair enough. That was my only question. That was it.
What does everyone else think?
I would say the bow staff thing. I don't know. I think
the thing he stabbed Jiro's eye with.
What I was gonna say was I think that probably could be something that it is something that hints towards his evolution, but I think that something tells me that he's delving into this Jigen mindset now that he's acquired more power and he's able to go toe to toe with the top tier like Jorah. So I don't know. That's a very interesting question. Like, what does this like? Now that he's has a new fit and he's pretty much has a bow staff and he pretty much can go toe to toe. Well, not. Oh God, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know.
Well, I want you to think like. So one thing that really made that bow staff or like the chakra rod stand out really is because one, he has it in the flash forward scene, obviously. So we
Yeah.
needed to get to that point where he was using it regularly, but also he was not using it at all at the start, for the first 22 chapters. So it's almost like a fighting style shift that occurred almost. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe True Essence is kind of kicking in more with limiters removed or something of the sort. If you go back to like when he had the Horn State versus Boroshiki's, like I understand or something of the sort there. I don't know. It could be absolutely nothing in this as simple as it was just a convenient thing. But seeing as how the flash forward scene showcases it, seeing as how that was not incorporating his fighting style at all prior to 23, and then like the tether to like Jigen's fighting style. And then also Boruto having a weapon as well. It's just kind of interesting. I thought it was maybe some kind of psychology there, something a little deeper, but I could be completely off.
Yeah, I think obviously next chapter they're probably gonna fight. So the things I would look for is how much like Jigen or Ishiki does he fight, because sure, he had similar moves in like the code arc, but his fighting style just wasn't the same. He wasn't throwing tiny rods and growing them on you when they hit you like Jigen was. He wasn't, doing the freaking lightsaber tricks with his staff like Jigen was. He wasn't doing all that stuff. So if he starts doing a lot of that sort of thing against Jura, that would definitely lead in that direction. If he adopts a completely new fighting style, just like a third new thing, that is going to be a different interpretation. So it kind of just depends on exactly what he does. But
No, I think he's fighting like Jigen.
I expect him to more than ever before too. But like, we'll just have to really analyze what he does and see how close it is.
I mean, I think currently he is, just straight up.
But we didn't see that much. I agree, based off what we did see, but we didn't see that much.
Okay, so as of now, he is fighting like Jigen.
As far as we can tell, yes. But okay. I wouldn't say he was doing that prior to this chapter, really.
Do you think he
was
would
just
have...
like throwing big rods at people before, and he just used it as ninja tech arm and stuff? That's not fighting like Jigen.
Yeah. Well, what fights are you referring to? Are you referring to Two Blue Vortex or before that?
Two Blue Vortex.
Okay, well, he hasn't really had any Two Blue Vortex fight.
Is closer, but it's still not exactly the same as Jigen.
I agree. But
so
what Two Blue Vortex
that's why I'm trying to make
fighting?
the distinction between kind of like Jigen and really like Jigen.
Okay. I don't think Kawaki's had a Two Blue Vortex fight.
You had a quote-unquote fight, but it's not really a fight. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not going to count the Boruto one or the Juro one.
But it's enough to see what his go-to things were. As opposed to Jigen's go-to. The first thing he does to Naruto, throw tiny rods on him and grow him after he already hit him. That's the first thing Jigen does. That is his fighting style. Kawaki's first thing he does is not that. So it gives you an indication.
I mean, you could argue that's what he was doing against Hidari. We just didn't see.
I doubt it. Hidari can't see anything with his Rinnegan, apparently, so... Apparently the Rinnegan are useless. But Immortal, it seems like you really wanted to talk about how strong Kawaki is compared to Code.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like he's way stronger than Code at this given point.
I agree. I don't think there's much to debate on.
Yeah.
Based on what we've seen, he just is probably stronger, at least by a little bit.
He should massacre him.
Exactly. I would say
like,
I was gonna say the only thing that I would say Code can do to get way stronger than Kawaki is for him to eat that chakra fruit like he was foretold to do in chapter 56 or so he can become a brand new Otsutsuki and ascend to a godhood and just be able to utterly dominate the universe. Like Ishiki wanted.
Well, I definitely don't think that's the only way he can get stronger, but it definitely would be a good way.
I feel like Code can pretty easily kill people who are stronger than him regardless. He's very slithery.
He does have a fighting style that does allow him to. The problem is, Kawaki can shrink his claw marks, so it would really depend on where he's putting them. If he puts them in the back of Kawaki's neck in mid-fight, that's very useful. But are they gonna have Code do that, given what they don't have him do?
So it depends.
It's literally how he first met Kawaki in the Code arc.
Because I feel like
I
Kawaki
agree,
can just use.
but that's when he wasn't gonna kill him, so that's why they did it.
Yeah, I feel like Kawaki can just use Sukuna Hikona to shrink himself, and maybe the claw mark. But that's if Koda ends up getting shrink too,
Ooh, that's
and just get. That's if Koda ends up trying to go through the claw mark when Kawaki uses Sukuna Hikona, and it's just like
That's even cooler.
That is
What would happen? Does Code shrink and stay shrunk, or does he just get like cut in half?
I feel like
even then though, that's not a long-term solution though, because let's just say he does shrink himself. No, I mean, is he just gonna stay small the whole fight? Because the moment he unshrinks, Coach is going to use it.
Yeah, he's just gonna stay as an ant the whole series.
like Code.
I'm down, Loki.
until Coach's dead, Kawaki stays tiny. That would be such. Okay. That is so stupid, but it's so funny. It would be hilarious. It's like a little running joke they do for like a couple arcs, and then then Code eventually will die, obviously, so that he can go back to normal before the Boruto fight. But like that would be really funny to at least play with for a little while.
Yeah,
Completely agree. So, unlike everyone else, I'm not just gonna immediately say that Kawaki's stronger than Code currently. I'm gonna entertain it. So, okay, let's look at what we did have. And base in the Code arc was obviously way inferior to even base Code, and then Kawaki got his like Kawashiki thing, and then he's stronger than even the Karma Code. Okay, but then like in the anime, he was pretty handedly taking care of Borushiki, but in the manga, it was a lot more relative to the point that he's really only winning because of his abilities and because
Wait, I feel like
Boruto's
I
waking
thought it was
up.
the other way around.
I think it's it's the opposite. In the opposite, it's more relative. Like Borushiki actually gets more hits on Kawaki in the anime.
but then
I'm talking about Kawashiki in the Code arc.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kawashiki. Yeah, Momoshiki actually gets
Kawashiki
more hits
versus
than Kawaki in
Borushiki.
the
I think
anime.
it's closer in the anime than the manga, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually is because in the manga, I reread the I reread like the chapter, and it's just like Kawashiki just utterly dominates Borushiki. No,
Look, I'm not gonna
questions.
say he utterly dominated, but he was winning.
Yeah, he is winning,
It's
but
actually
he's winning, but it's like we're seeing that Kawaki in his new state is just like pretty much not really manhandling, but he's handling Borushiki pretty damn well. And it almost looks like
He's in control of the fight, but he's
There's
not.
a portion in the anime where like
manhandling.
Momoshiki like gets like 4 hits on Kawaki, just from straight up boxing him. Like he gets.
I'm not gonna count it based on the number of hits.
Yeah, but you can't say that like but like you're still like wrong about it's the other way around.
in fact,
I mean, maybe I'm just misremembering it, but how I remember it, especially concerning the anime, is longer. It's a lot more clear that in one is Kawaki's dominating, and the other it's a lot more close.
Yeah, I think the anime was.
Yeah,
the
that would be
most
the anime
close.
version. That'd be the anime with the close one.
I mean, that would give it a reason to be longer. If they're going back and forth.
Well,
Yeah.
no, if they're dominating, then it would make more sense to show the domination, but either way.
Depends on how they do it. Either way would theoretically work for that.
luckily it's in the pages in chat, but how the way you guys interpret it, that's up to you guys. I sent the pages in chat, so if you guys want to see it, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, the thing is, we'll just say for now that he's a little bit stronger in both interpretations, both canon. He's maybe kind of relative, but he's just stronger than Borushiki. He's probably like physically relative, but like with his abilities, he's just way stronger. And if Boruto was never waking up, it'd be a lot closer of a fight, though I do think eventually Kawaki would win, especially considering he's still figuring out how his abilities, so over time he would just get stronger. Anyways, in the Code arc, it
that's why Momoshiki
feels...
didn't want to fight Kawaki again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said
Considering
rather not fight
Naruto
that.
and Sasuke are like stated to be kind of close to Code, Code's really dangerous to them or whatever. And then, okay, so then you have Kawashiki dominating Code, and then if Borushiki is on that caliber as well. But then it's weird, because did Borushiki just get way stronger? Because in the Ishiki arc, you know, one arc prior, like 2 weeks ago in canon or whatever, it's like,
deathbed Sasuke is doing pretty well against Borushiki
he,
there.
At the very least, well, he just did objectively get a lot stronger because, well, besides the fact that in one case he can't absorb jutsu and he can't use many jutsu, and in the other case he's spamming master Rasengan's and absorbing jutsu willy-nilly, doesn't matter, I guess. But ignoring that, I think it's just speed features would dictate him being faster because, again, he's a Coach trying to go through the claw marks, and Borushiki shoots him and blitzes and kicks him in the face. He's fighting Kawaki at this point. And if Code is supposed to be anywhere near Pat Sage Mode Naruto, I mean, Coach should do better than Delta, who, even if she's not equal to Naruto, she did fight him. She fought him in that full form. So Coach should only do better. And if Borushiki just blitzing, kicking him in the face and stuff, then he should just be at least that full power Naruto level, which is not, Renegon-less Heart Sasuke level, So he just has to be stronger in the Code arc than the Kawaki arc. He just has to be.
That's so weird to me, considering how close those two are next to one another. The fact that Boruto ripped his horn off, the fact he's using the Byakugan suppressant pills.
So I agree. The only real explanation you can give that doesn't seem completely stupid is just in the Kawaki arc fight, Boruto was out of chakra. He just didn't have chakra. Whereas in the Code arc, he took over while Boruto still had ample chakra, and that could be the difference. But the difference is much more massive than the amount of chakra Boruto had. Is the difference. So
I'm sorry, were you saying that
extraction rate is literally 2% difference? It was 80 to 82. I don't think that's the difference.
Exactly. So were you saying he had chakra in the Ishiki arc, whereas he had none in the Code arc? Or lower?
Other way around.
I think it is that way, though, because he just passed out versus Ishiki. He just used the teleportation. He wasn't really spamming jutsus against Ishiki. Whereas in the Code fight, he was fighting Code, with his karma and everything.
He was using Moboshiki's chakra via karma for one thing, but ignoring that, Boruto wasn't gassed out when he had the heart attack. We know he still had gas in the tank. And whereas, yes, with Ishiki, he kind of just passed out. They made it a point to say, Sasuke's whole theory was centered around the fact that Boruto was low on chakra and fell unconscious. And so if we give him back some chakra, he might regain control. That was the whole basis of the theory. Nothing indicates he was wrong in terms of this arc's fight. His plan worked. So, but and then in the Code arc, again, Boruto still had chakra. Momoshiki took over. He's absorbing jutsu, not losing control. Clearly, that doesn't matter right now. So I think he just had more Boruto's chakra, and that just had a big difference. So right now, Jigen, with Jigen's, not Ishiki, but Jigen's stamina was low. He's in karma too, and Koji's able to perceive him and do jutsu according to his plan. Whereas we can presume that when Jigen was, kicking through Sasuke Susanoo and blitzing Naruto and Sasuke, Koji probably couldn't fight the same way against that Jigen. The only difference there isn't Ishiki's chakra reserves. He's got a shitload of it. It's really Jigen's stamina. So based off what we see with Jigen, you can apply that to Boruto to explain the massive power gap. As for why Boruto's... give me your best theory as far as Boruto's waking upness, because he has chakra when he gets taken over in the Code arc, and then he just randomly wakes up later. I don't know why.
Unlike the Boro
that might be, actually, I don't want to think of it. That might be a good example of plot convenience right there. He just woke up and nobody knows why.
Well, but there's no reason for him to even be asleep other than Momoshiki possessed him, but that doesn't mean he's asleep. Other instances, like the Boro instance, he was knocked out. The Ishiki instance, he fell unconscious. Here, Momoshiki just took over randomly.
Exactly.
Why was he asleep?
Boruto heart attack is equal as before. It's equally as heart attack or not heart attack. It just happened. So I don't know why he woke up in the Code arc, because it's not like Momoshiki didn't get pinned by the rods first. Boruto started waking up, and that's when Kawaki hit him with the rods. So I don't know why he woke up. He just did. It's kind of plot convenient. I think that's a good example.
But either way, we have Borushiki versus Sasuke in the Ishiki arc, and clearly Sasuke didn't want to, even if he was willing to, kill Boruto there. He was doing the chakra plan or whatever. That could imply that he just couldn't take out Borushiki, but I think physically he could, is what he's implying after the fight anyways. But either way, that you also have, on the same terms there, you have Borushiki didn't want to kill Kawaki, which is why he absorbed his chakra in the first place. I think that still applies to this Code Arc fight. He's not trying to kill Kawaki, whereas Kawaki's trying to kill him.
Yeah, then,
you could argue something there.
Well, yeah. Okay. But I don't think that I don't think that's gonna be the explanation for Moboshiki's power increase.
What I'm saying is it's possible that Momoshiki didn't get a power increase because they never defeated Momoshiki in the Ishiki arc. So maybe he just was stronger than we realize back then.
That's entirely possible. You gotta ask, okay, but if he was this strong, why was he so weary of Sasuke? Like I get he's weary because he's fought him before and he knows he's smart and he knows he's strong, but like if he's strong, he doesn't need to be weary.
Whereas he was weary, he was also kind of playing around. Well, okay, I do have a fun interpretation. Like you just said, he knows he's smart. Sasuke isn't a threat because he can defeat him. Sasuke's a threat because he can figure out Borushiki's weakness, aka give him chakra, Boruto wakes up, you defeated Momoshiki. So Sasuke is a threat to Borushiki in that regard.
Okay, I agree with that, but like, but hypothetically, if Momoshiki can't just blitz with the kunai, that's a good way to get rid of that threat.
You might kind of cut out a little bit uncommonly.
I'll just restate. So, like, I agree with what you're saying. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So, I agree with what you're saying, but, like, hypothetically, if Momoshiki can just blitz Sasuke, why not just blitz Sasuke with the kunai to the throat? Because that's going to get rid of that smart, dangerous threat either way.
Especially because this Sasuke was actually, like, falling over himself in the manga. In the anime, he seems to be in better condition, but he tripped over himself.
Yeah. So the other explanation could be that Code was just weaker than we thought in the Code arc, where he was just pretty handedly below Naruto and Sasuke, and to where Borushiki and Kawashiki just rise up to about Naruto and Sasuke's level, rather than surpassing.
That is definitely possible, but the question is, are we just going to say that Delta was way below Naruto in that case? How below Naruto are you going to say?
It could be similar to a Boro, to where it's Code's abilities that really put him on that level, rather than anything else.
I agree, it could be, but they really emphasized his power is the thing. Yeah. So that tells me his power should be part of the equation. Unlike Boro.
Did they emphasize power?
Yeah.
In what way?
Kawaki and Abado were really emphasizing how strong Code was and how he's fast and strong. So.
Oh no, I meant sorry, I was thinking about Sasuke. That Momoshiki versus Sasuke fight, like after he stabbed his eye out.
Oh, what about that?
No, I was just curious because I think a lot of the time when you have like a weaker character, I'm thinking like Tobirama versus like Jubi Obito, where like if you're like sufficiently like intelligent and skilled, it can kind of bridge the gap a little bit, so it might not be like power based. But if you're telling me that, then that's a completely different thing. So, yeah.
Well, I was talking about Code just now, so they weren't emphasizing how fast or strong Borushiki was in that fight. No.
I got you.
I don't know about bridge the gap, because whereas I agree it bridges the gap, but it doesn't completely overcome the gap entirely. If Tobirama's not in Edo Tensei, which is realistically the threat against Jubito, before he got the permanent Truth Seeker orbs or whatever, he's just gonna continually come back. So it doesn't matter if Jubito speed blitz one-shots, bisects him in half with his Truth Seeker. It's not gonna do anything. As long as Tobirama can hurt Jubito, eventually if the fight drags on long enough, Tobirama's just gonna win, cause he's in Edo Tensei. Is at least that.
Okay.
I was gonna say, thank you, Darashikage, for subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Nice.
Out.
Darashikage!
Everyone else go subscribe to Immortal's channel as well. Link in the description below. He's starting his new podcast. Breaker.
While you're at it, also subscribe to us and Mello and Free Game and whoever else. Saran, if he's got anything to subscribe.
Yeah, go follow him on Twitter.
No, I've got nothing. Follow my Twitter.
Okay.
Okay, but anyway, so back to my analysis here. So if we are saying, I don't know, maybe it's weird, maybe this is also nerfed Naruto and Sasuke, so maybe Code is like relative to them, but like full power Naruto and Sasuke is stronger than them if we're going with that.
Okay, and then again, are nerfed Naruto and Sasuke relative to Delta?
No.
Well, nerfed Naruto and Sasuke aren't relative to full power Naruto and Sasuke.
Maybe they are together. Like, maybe they're as strong together as their original selves individually.
Or nerfed Naruto and Sasuke.
Because my
The
point
ones
is,
without the eye and the chroma?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
versus Delta. Because
They
the
shouldn't
story
be able
really tried to emphasize
either.
very hard that limited Code was still stronger than Delta. Whether you think it's because of his abilities or his power, whatever, overall, he was meant to be stronger than Delta. As well as Bora.
The implication is his power, not really. I don't think it's the ability. I don't think they're
They
going
only
disability.
emphasized his power, not his abilities, although yes, he has very hacks abilities, but they were really emphasizing his power. He's supposed to be stronger than Delta, with the limiters on.
I don't know how that Naruto is beating Delta. If she was pressing 6-pass Sage mode Naruto. Like he was huffing and
Right,
puffing
so
and
then
stuff.
he shouldn't be relative to Code, either.
I mean, there's some context to that fight for sure, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't she?
I mean,
I know some
And then
people.
also, that would be
Naruto
based
got
on
his-
the premise that you're correct, that the story was trying to imply the thing that you're saying about Code. But if so,
Well, I
then
mean,
yeah, sure.
Reread the Code arc, let me know what you think.
Naruto
Okay.
does have his age of
Well,
wisdom,
Tommy,
man.
some people make this argument that like because Code took Shikamaru as a hostage when Naruto appeared, that means that like he thought that Naruto could push him to an extent to where he would actually give him a very great challenge, which is why he had the hostage. I think I've heard Kinomaki say that in the past.
I've heard a lot of people say that they're just wrong.
They're
He
just
did that
wrong.
because of
Yeah.
Borushiki. It got Borushiki
Yeah.
to stop trying to kill him. That's why he did it.
Yeah, and then I do think Naruto being a threat was a factor. I just think that it's the Borushiki thing was the main thing that caused him. He needed to find some type of leverage. And even if that was the case, wasn't that Code had just taken an injury like through his shoulder? He got pressed by Boruto. So
Well, he did.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Godwin.
Well, no, I have to.
Okay.
Saran, you're right. He did get a hole in his shoulder until the
Yeah,
next
it
page
does
when that
disappear.
hole was
Yes,
gone
it does
and never to be
disappear.
seen again.
yes, and like there's no holes in his clothes either. It just his clothes were generated.
Even though he doesn't have regeneration.
I mean, even if he did have regeneration, that doesn't explain the clothes. So
Well, to be fair, Naruto's clothes do that, so I don't know.
wait, they do indeed do that, don't they?
So I don't know how
Except for
clothes
when they-
regen works,
except for when
but
they
regardless, Code doesn't have regen.
Are we gonna say that Code able to turn his fingers into spikes is because of the claw mark Shinjutsu or because of scientific ninja tech?
So
I
we
think
don't
that's
know
a
for
scientific
sure,
ninja tech.
obviously, but a lot of people would say ninja tech. But the thing is, they're clearly heavily associated with the claw marks themselves because he always consistently makes his big claws. Half the time he scratches with them to make claw marks. If they were just completely separate abilities, why does he need to do that?
None of the this could just be an inconsistency for artistic purposes, but like none of the Shinju do that. So it's like,
Well, Hinari's using as a Renegon, man. I don't know.
So I don't know.
I don't know what's up. I don't understand the Shinju's ability.
But like, Ko doesn't always scratch though. Sometimes he does oftentimes do that though. Usually, I think it's for ground placements. He scratches the floor.
But sometimes
to implant them on trees and stuff, he just tosses them. I think.
So sometimes he swipes in the air. Sometimes he just curls his finger. Sometimes he does nothing. But all but maybe one scene. There is one scene I'd have to double check. But all but maybe that one scene, he has always made the big claws. The only scene he might not have is when he slapped Bug in the face with a claw mark. I don't know what his hands look like there.
To be fair, whenever Code wants to do this, I feel like he would be getting serious for a fight or whatever. So I feel like it's fair to say he's going to use
times he does it when he's not doing it for a fight.
Well, just as an example, is there any scene of Naruto using KCN where he doesn't also use Rasengan?
Yeah. A lot.
Can you?
Bro, what kind of question was that? That was crazy.
You get the idea, though. Like, you can't just associate the two because Naruto uses them both in fights.
Well, you can because he the claw marks, and he has claws, and he keeps doing the claws when he uses claw marks.
To be fair, the claw marks make no sense as a name for the belts.
I agree.
Belt marks. The belt marks.
You're right. Even in the anime, to hit Kawaki with he actually does form a claw.
Yeah, you can't see Code's hands when he slaps Bug with one, so I don't know. His hands are just off panel, so who knows what they looked like.
If you
one hand, the anime literally demonstrates that he has one hand drawn with the claw and the other one is normal, and it's the one that he's using to place the claw marks. Is there other scenes where he doesn't
threatening Kawaki? I'm gonna kill you, Kawaki.
Okay, well, what do you think about when he makes his claws when he's just doing the 10 tails claw grime stuff?
Could be scaring the 10 tails. You better listen to me, you claw grimes, you.
Not doing that.
You better listen to me, Claw Grimes, you.
I have a question for you guys, real quick.
Sorry.
If say Naruto wasn't an incompetent Hokage, right, and he was actually able to help and listen to his advisor Shikamaru and help Kawaki defeat Code, what?
You say that?
What would we be dealing with in terms of conflict right now? Because the Shinju come from Code. If Code's defeated, then that's not even an issue. I guess Ada, Damon, Kawaki maybe, but I'm just if Code wasn't around, if Code didn't do what he did, this isn't kind of a boring little era, this little stretch.
Well, to be
3-year
fair,
stretch.
I suppose this situation just assumes Code doesn't just pull out Damon sooner.
Yeah.
Because if Naruto's pressing him too, he might just pull out Damon faster. But if we're assuming he doesn't, he just dies, then Kawaki just is the threat, I guess.
And Damon would want to fight because he didn't even know what was happening. But as soon as he saw people scrapping, he was like, "I wanted to fight." So they would all just die. So no matter what.
Well, Damon wanted to fight anyways. Code just slammed him back into Ada anyways.
Yeah, because that's Ada asked him to.
Just curate the hypothetical to get to the conclusion. But yeah, that's how you do.
But
maybe
things would be going quite
or whatever
well
endgame
right
threats
now.
show up.
But no, Kawaki would still be antagonistic towards Boruto, so Kawaki would be the threat, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but we know there isn't any there's no other villain. Just take what we see now. Because if there were, we would be getting that now. Unless you think maybe there's a villain right now that's just here but not doing anything because of the Shinju. Act as a deterrent, maybe.
There's many possibilities. For example, maybe Amado's shenanigans would come sooner. Maybe hypothetical Urashiki revives and comes back and he shows up sooner. Stuff like that. But ignoring that, yeah, Kawaki.
That's funny.
You could still argue.
What were we gonna say?
But we still don't know why the Shinju came about. Boruto only theorizes it was Code shenanigans, but seemingly the Soul Thorns aren't a part of the claw grimes anyways. They just come from that one random tree, which we don't even know if that is the Ten Tails. We see in the War Arc, the Ten Tails is just basically evolving on its own. And considering it's pinned down by Jigen's chakra, chakra receiver disruptors, it's Jigen's chakra. They could have just possibly turned the Shinju all on its own.
So do you think do you think people like Himawari have thorn souls?
I don't think humans have thorn souls.
No.
I think it's only Ten Tails-y things.
They compared her to themselves. She doesn't seem very human to me.
In terms of healing.
Didn't Kurama say like they were like one thing or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm asking questions. I don't know.
I mean, you could be you're right in that aspect. It does.
Maybe that's what Damon says.
Yeah. It does seem like she isn't human in a sense because her and Kurama are like kind of one in like one body. And it's.
Well, how about this? Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Please continue.
And I was gonna say it's kind of similar to what's going on with Boruto and Momoshiki, how their thoughts are kind of overlapping each other and they're kind of almost becoming one in a sense. But the only difference is, I'm guessing, in Himawari's case, she doesn't have to worry about her soul getting shoved into another corner of her consciousness. But continue, yeah.
No, yes, and more so like don't think of the thorns. Okay, so I probably just said this. I'm more so thinking like everyone has like a core, right? So like a new concept is being introduced, and Ikimaru is using the Shinju to do it. Everyone kind of has like a core, and then for the Shinju, that core manifests as the thorn bulb. Perhaps for whatever Himawari is, some kind of like hybrid or whatever, it manifests in a different way, or maybe everyone has like their own kind of like core or something akin to that. Kind of similar to how like ninjutsu. Like ninjutsu and like shinjutsu were kind of like a thing that they incorporated. But yeah, just a thought.
Well, no, I have an answer that's not what you're expecting. So if the Shinju have thorn souls and that's their core, what if humans have soul and that's their core? Just remove the thorn part.
I was thinking of something a little bit more physical, but sure, that works, I guess.
Well, because you have to ask, though, because, like, do you think, okay, hypothetically, let's say there is a physical thing. Do you think, for humans, it would regenerate the way that, like, the thorn souls do for, like, Hidari when he gets blown up?
Well, it depends. So, they seem to like vessels, that concept, vessels and things being stored in them. So, if you want to say, like, the soul is, like, that for humans or humanoids, then I want to know what the vessel is, or you can say, okay, well, the vessel is the body. Yeah. You can say, well, the vessel is the body. Then I would say, okay, that's, maybe, but I'm looking for something a little bit more like representative of like the whole. Because I could just say like their vessel could just be the sails, and then I get to like the reanimation with Kabuto in the War Arc, to where you need like physical matter to attract the soul back, the remains. So I'm not sure. Would be my answer. I have to give it a little bit more thought, I think. But
the reason I was asking is because, like, when Kawaki was blown up by a bomb, or anyone else for that matter, we never saw them like reconstitute a thorn soul-like object. So I mean, it had to be like a retcon situation in that case, unless
not
it is soul
thing or whatever.
Oh, her little brother.
Yeah, Kawaki. Or...
So.
Well, I'm thinking like something like that. Have you ever heard like the pineal gland? Like the third eye, the human. We have like a gland in our. Okay. So it's like this gland that we have like in our like brains or whatever. So we're supposed to be representative of our third eye. That's why in some kind of like Hinduism, or I'm speaking a little bit from ignorance here. So if anyone in chat can correct me, this is why you have like the diamond on the forehead and like that kind of in Indian culture, some religious cultures, it's supposed to be representative of the pineal gland. So that would be like a physical, and this is kind of hypothetical, like the core of humans would be like a physical thing, like a gland, and then it could be like the representative of the soul or something akin to that. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. But But again, it's all just like little metaphysical stuff. So I could be all over the place. I am,
I mean,
not
honestly,
sober.
though, now
So
that you're bringing it up, though, I do think the actual answer is just souls for humans, because in Naruto, like with Amado and his whole reviving his daughter thing, they're making the point that like he can do all this and this and this with DNA, but what he lacked was Akabi's soul. That's the core that he couldn't get. Now with karma, like at least normal karma situations, the soul is in the karma. Like the karma is like the vessel for the soul / the actual vessel, like Boruto. But like that would just be the core of Akabi. I would just say it just is that. And so like with Hidari, his soul, consciousness, everything's just contained in that thorn soul, which then can regenerate his body if you give it to that big tree, whatever reasons we don't know. But I feel like I think the soul is the important part. The thorn thing just seems to be like, I don't know why.
I think it's just
they have the thorns part, but like it seems to be like the soul it's contained in there. Now, why maybe humans just don't have that same container? Because like with Hidari, his body's obviously a container, but for whatever reason, if you destroy his body, he gets a thorn soul container now, where humans just don't have that for whatever reason we don't know.
Yeah.
like what is the Uchiha chakra that manifests to conclude in the Sharingan? Like where does that come from? Type of thing. Like, but I'm sorry, Phoenix, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, since for the thorn souls, for the aesthetics of the thorn soul, it resembling a thorn, I was about to say they are god trees, but then they're kind of also, but then they're also like have claw marks all over them. I don't know, it's a little weird for why they have thorns all over them, but I don't know. I'm guessing maybe just to make it look cool.
Maybe the claw mark studs are thorns.
Yeah.
Well, with the thorn stuff, I think that would be more representative of like plants, the trees.
Yeah.
So there seems to be like a vegetation theme there. But just in my kind of example, obviously like for a human, it would just manifest itself in a different way. For a Biju or another Biju, like Kurama might have like a core or something, something like that. Like not everyone's core is going to be the same, right? Yeah. That type of thing. But now we're getting a little bit more into like fanciful what ifs and headcanon. A little deeper than I was expecting, but yeah.
So, Mela, do you think that the Thorn Soul is always in the Shinju, or only when they are destroyed?
Give me a second. Thorn Soul is always in the Shinju. I would think that they're always inside the Shinju, yeah.
So, like, hypothetically, Sarada could, like, grab it out of the Shinju, similar to Boro's core?
I would think so, yeah. If there like something shifting about it, because number one, it wouldn't make sense that it would just manifest. So I would think like the body would be like a suit of armor to protect the core. That would be like the utility of it. Like what utility would there be in destroying the body and then revealing the core? That kind of seems like counterproductive.
But I have a question then. Why do you think the Thorn Soul can regenerate but not the body? Because it doesn't seem like the Thorn Soul needs much protection if it can regenerate.
It may need some protection. It might not need much.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But either way, why do you think the Thorn Soul can regenerate but not their bodies?
And the Thorn
without
Soul
the tree's
regenerate?
help, I mean.
Sorry, I don't know if they can regenerate. Do you have like an instant to?
Yeah, every time they just when Hidari's blown to dust, and you see the dust come together into a Thorn Soul. So it's either regenerating or it's forming for the first time. It's one of
I think that's chapter 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, same thing with Matsuri in chapter 21. I think it was. In her case, it was a little bit different because she was chopped into like bite-sized pieces, and you see the ash flow. I don't know. It's like I don't know what's going on there, but either way.
Yeah, I'll have to see the images.
As ridiculous as it is, I don't think this is what's happening. But it's possible that rather than regenerating or forming for the first time, the soul, like, Hidari's just being smart or whatever, and he's just doing what Ryu was doing by, like, disassembling his body into sand and then, like, reassembling it afterwards.
The problem with that, though, is then that's not an Iron Sand ability, but like a Shinju ability. And then everything they were saying in the Ryu fight kind of, and also why isn't Hidari doing that, among other things? And I don't think that's what they're going for.
Could have been just hiding his core amongst the sand as it moved. I doubt it, but yeah, I would just have to see the images. But just off the top of my head, what I would say is, it could be either or. It could be the materials that are used to comprise a full thorn bulb are within the body, and then once the body itself is destroyed, those materials assemble to form the whole thing. In this way, the body still acts as an armor, and the utility is met. It's just the difference would be the mechanic in which the manifestation comes about. But that'll be on the
I'm
only
thinking
difference.
it might be closer to the last thing you said there, because so first I'll show you Hidari. You see Hidari I'm sharing my screen if everyone wants to look.
Mm-hmm.
And so Hidari's, he's got some body left. Kawaki blows him up. You don't really see anything. All of a sudden you see all these dusty particles coming together, and they go like this, and they make a thorn soul. And then with Matsuri, it's a little bit interesting because you see these chunks on the ground, and then you start to see this here. It's forming, and we don't know for sure. But then you also see some of Matsuri's pieces on the ground. So I don't know if Matsuri's pieces turned into the Thorn Soul, or if some of the pieces turned into the Thorn Soul, or if pieces just started forming next to these pieces, independently of these pieces.
I think maybe I think the first thing I would do is not assume that what's occurring is something that's like something that I wouldn't assume regeneration is occurring or some kind of healing is occurring. It could just be reassembling or inassemble.
I said regeneration for a reason earlier, but in this context, I would say reconstitute. Assuming it was inside them, like in this form, in their it's like their organ, I would say reconstitute. But if it wasn't there, it's forming for the first time.
Yeah, because like if it's not there, then what utility is there in having it formed there to begin with? I just think it's just the materials that create it, like I said earlier, and then then it's just the mechanic.
But Matsuri is evidence to suggest it's forming for the first time, because we see the size of the pieces from Boruto's Sword Slash. They're all, these, baseball-sized pieces. He did not cut Matsuri into this, and then, maybe he did, but then specifically cut the Thorn Soul into 1 billion pieces just for it to reform.
Please sit down.
And he also says it's forming. I'm not going to use this at face value because he could say that regardless if it's reforming. But if this was just in her, I don't think Boruto would have chopped it into 1 million pieces just to have it form again when he could just grab it. To me, this scene suggests it's forming for the first time. Personally.
Well, I do think it is forming for the first time. I just think those little particles are the material
What it actually does, you don't know if it formed around it or if it transformed. Because it does the puff of smoke like a transformation jutsu. So you don't know. You can't see it. You don't know if this was transformed into this or if it was built around this. You don't know.
Oh, that's so stupid.
You don't know. The same thing happens with Ryu. So it remains to
like
be
the
seen.
substitution jutsu.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and I'm not saying that it's literally doing the transformation jutsu, but my point is that it could be transforming this into this, especially since you don't get to see the process. It's literally bull. You can't see it.
Yeah. Okay.
But if it's transforming, that would explain why, you can chop her into bits, and then it's just going to turn into this after the fact, versus this just being on the ground.
Yeah. That being said,
it would be weird for it to form around it and then dissolve. Not to say that it can't do that. It could. And that's fine, but I don't know.
I mean, it could have properties similar to Karma hitting 100%
Yeah,
and extracting or whatever.
It might do that, yeah. That to be fair.
Yeah. So, Mello, when you were saying that, or theorizing, I should say, that humans have core, were you, referencing, specific named, main characters into Blue Vortex, such as Himawari, or were you referring to, all humans on the Boruto planet?
I would imagine it would have to be all of them, but then also the kind of idea evolved. Originally, it was just hybrids, so like a Boruto or a Himawari, like very unique individuals like that that have kind of a tether to Biju in a way, and it was kind of through Jura's comparison between himself and what he is and Himawari as well. But yeah, it did kind of evolve into something different as we kind of got to Edo Tensei's and the explanation from Kabuto and so on and so forth. The Kaguya stuff is a little weird with chakra, but something akin to that, I think.
Do you have a specific answer locked in? Because I have a couple ideas.
If you think chakra and soul is the same thing, of course.
No, I don't.
It's the same, but heavily associated.
I don't. I can't think normally right now, so I can't give you a typical answer I would have been able to. Yeah, sorry.
So I got a couple answers. Some of them are what Kamui said, but I have expansions on what Kamui said, but some of mine are original. So first of all, I would say I think if there's a core in Naruto, then either the characters would have already found it and just not addressed it on screen. They would have talked about it off screen. Or some reason they can't, but it's weird that Sasori can remove literally all of his body except for his heart, and he just doesn't understand that there's a core, or that Orochimaru, the mad genius, just has no idea. The body transfer jutsu guy just has no idea. Would be a little bit weird, but aside from that, assuming there is a core, there's a couple answers you could lean towards. The heart would be an obvious one, and there's a lot of heart things in Naruto that are relevant. Look at a couple things I already said, but you even got Kakuzu. In a way, you could say those are cores of what Kakuzu's thing is doing. Aside from the heart, you could say it's the brain. Obvious reasons there. That's where consciousness is formed, thought, all that. It's seemingly the thing that separates humans from the Tin Tails, seemingly, maybe, arguably. Arguably, we don't know. DNA, that's another one I was going to say. Yeah, I completely agree. Or the brain, that's also where the Uchiha chakra for the Sharingan is awakened or whatever. You could also say in the chakra network, the chakra veins with the chakra points, wherever the origin source of that is, you could argue that. And I do think we arguably get to see that at a couple points. It seems to be, because it's it spirals down from the lungs into around the stomach area. See, and I mean, I do think that's also consistent whenever Neji's looking in people. It seems like it's a cord around the stomach, especially the nine-tail seal. You could argue that's especially the case because it's obviously sealed into the stomach. Aside from that, though, the stomach in Japanese culture, society, all that is very heavily emphasized and importance in comparison to the United States. it's like a huge deal over there, the stomach, just in general, like in real life. And so that could have played a role or inspiration into the stomach being more important in Naruto, where maybe it is the core. Maybe that's where the chakra network is localized or centered. I mean, the 8 gates, one of them is in the stomach. You could argue wherever the first one is. I think it's the brain, so you could argue that. You could argue it's the 8th one, it's in the heart. You could argue that as well. Again, there's a stomach one there. I would say a very interesting one is going along with one of Kami's answered with the soul. You could argue that the core of a human would be their data. Specifically, what is data? Well, we know that the karma, whenever you hypercompress it into the karma seal, it's your data or whatever, hypercompress. Obviously, not all humans have karma seals. Like, Kiba can't go around placing a karma seal on people, but if he could, what would he be doing? He'd be putting his core into people, his data. So where is that data centralized? I don't think it necessarily is. I think it's spread out through the body, but I don't think that's necessarily a problem to pinpoint to a core, in which case you would still do a body or the network system that comprises of that data, the DNA, as you were saying. Because in real life, this is where it gets interesting. You're going to like this. Okay, your high thoughts are going to go crazy with this one. So, where is the brain in the human body? It's in the head. Where is the brain? And I learned this today. Where is the brain in an octopus? It's not in the head. It's located throughout their entire body. So, like,
Wait,
their
really?
tentacles, that's crazy, right? Their tentacles have brain in them. Their head has brain in them. Everywhere in the octopus body has brain. It's not just located in their head. It could be like that for
I've got to look that up.
data.
That's awesome.
I know, right? It could be like that for data for humans in Naruto, and that could be how you get to the uncompressed data that spreads across the entire body. Maybe that's why it spreads across the entire body when the data uncompresses from the karma seal, because otherwise maybe like the Otsuki would have just turned into like the palm on Boruto's hand instead of Boruto's entire body if it doesn't spread across his body when it uncompresses. So maybe that is something they're going with there if you want to pinpoint to a core. So that's what I would say.
Well, in light of the octopus thing, I know that, like, plant quote-unquote consciousness is, like, a newly debated topic type thing. But in light of what you said about the octopus, Boruto 2 Blue Vortex could play with that idea with the Shinju, but then once their bodies are destroyed, you know, it would have to go somewhere that could lead to the Thorn Soul. They could play with some of the octopus ideas, ironically. Not because they're going to specifically reference the octopus, but they might coincidentally use similar concepts.
I agree. The Soul Thorn conversation combined with the what is the core conversation, I think was really interesting with the octopus thing in mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. Now you're making me want Killer Bee to come back. Like, okay, everyone wants Killer Bee to come back. This is how it's going to happen. The only way it's acceptable.
Man should be dead.
I
It
would
could
say,
be. I'm sorry, Phoenix. Knock it out.
what I was gonna say was if what they could do with the Thorn Souls. If I was thinking to myself, like there might, since you know it's based off of plants and everything, there might be some biological feature of the Thorn Soul that, you know, if they need the Thorn Soul to reconstitute their bodies, like let's just say since it's their core, it could also be like their seed in a sense,
or at least contain the seed, because this is where you get to like the fruit or flower comparison. Now, I don't know which they're trying to reference there, but the point of a fruit is to hold the seeds and allow the seeds to spread. Now, in this case, the jury's not trying to like spread Hidari's seed. Don't take that the weird way, people. He's not trying to spread it, but like it would hold the seed that can allow him to regrow essentially into another tree. Which is what he does.
My problem with that, it seems to be the same Hidari rather than a new Hidari or Hidari's offspring or anything like that. So
yeah, but if it's the same seed, it might just, even though that doesn't make sense in context of real life plant, you can't like you have a tree, you can't just go get its original seed, but in this case they can type thing. So I think it would be fine. It would still be
It's
the same
probably
seed
it's probably not the same Hirari. It just thinks that it is. Like how your cells die, and then like I don't have the same cells that I did when I was like 4.
Mhm.
It's like but I think I'm the same thing. You know the ship of Theseus thing. So, but I get your general point. Yeah, I get.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously that would be technically true, but personally, I mean, we don't know what they're gonna do with Hidari, but I don't think that in Boruto they're saying Boruto's a different Boruto because the cells died and regrew or whatever. I don't think Ikimo is doing that at the very least, even if that's objectively technically true.
Yeah, we all technically have a new quote-unquote body compared to 10 years ago or whatever, but from my understanding, we all have the same stream of consciousness. Our consciousness is the same as back then. It's just changed over time, but like it's the same. I think Hidari has his original Hidari chakra, which is how that would still be the same quote-unquote Hidari.
Yeah.
But you can copy chakra, like with Minato. Would it still be original? And I'm not sure if our consciousness is original. I just think it's a copy of. I just think there's no utility in nature for us to like have to ponder on our like fucking ego death every cell cycle or whatever. So, but that's a topic for a different stream, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah. Another.
But either way, I think. As of right now, they've only. I mean, again, really, we have to wait until we see Hidari's next major situation, because so far they've only implied that he's the same. But they could very easily display for the first time, nope, different Hidari actually, because XYZ is different now. But we're not going to know that until Hidari's pushed into a situation to reveal that. So we kind of just have to wait. But anyway. Immortal, we're technically still on topic 1 from your list.
Yeah.
If you want to skip to any other topics on your list.
Yeah, I think we kind of already, got our answer to. Well, we got somewhat of a headcanon-ish sort of canon answer to Kawaki's limiters, and also we kind of answered the question as to how strong is he compared to Code. So I don't think there's no debate on that answer. He's pretty much already stronger than Code in every single conceivable way. So
he's at least equal. Let's go.
At least, but since both Kawaki and Code got their perspective limiters removed, it just seems like Kawaki is more impressive and feels like more of a Jigen level fighter or an Ishiki level fighter than Code. But I don't know.
Well,
I could be wrong. But anyways,
I will say a couple things about this.
Yeah.
Real quick, couple things. One would just be implications of what you mean by Jigen level, but that's going to get into a rabbit hole of RTOs. Yeah. 2 is that, well, to be fair, what Amado did to Code and Kawaki isn't actually the same thing, because Code just had limiters, simple, nothing more to it. Everything was limited. Kawaki has like a conversion thing going on. So in his case, all of his defense was converted into offense, and we can't quantify in either case. They didn't give us numbers. So whereas Kawaki's amp might seem more impressive, quote unquote, his defense might be very impressively bad now. So it's kind of just a different situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Theoretically, Kawaki should, if he gets hit once by Jura, he should
He should
just get tapped out.
He should.
Yeah.
And that's why it's gonna become a flaw. But they're not gonna. It's gonna.
But I don't necessarily think that's the case, because I think he just reverted back to his Code arc, quote unquote, self in terms of limiters, quote unquote. And we saw
it depends on when the limiters were put on, because if
I agree.
He had limiters in the Code arc, but just used Karma 2, making him stronger, versus whatever he did in Tubular Vortex, that would mean he was limited in the Code arc, which means
I agree.
Everything he did against the same defensive amp situation.
I agree. And I'm saying if he had the limiters put on in the time skip, aka he was not limited in the Code arc, then if he's just able to survive his own Code killing blast thing or whatever, then he's not just gonna blow up like a balloon to anything.
Yeah, but then again though, but here's the thing. let's just assume he didn't have limiters in the code arc. Let's just assume that for now. We have to factor in what Amado did in the first place. What that would mean is in the code arc, Kawaki was just normal. His offense and defense were balanced. Then in Two Blue Vortex, his defense is amped and offense lowered. Now, his offense was raised and defense lowered. He's not normal. He's specifically offensive focused, defensive weakened. That's what Kawaki wanted Amado to do right now. So he should blow up from like any of Jura's attacks. He just should.
Well, all of that is an assumption.
So if Kawaki is like stronger now, like in his defensive, why wouldn't he just be able to like just amp his body further than he could before?
Amado's thing doesn't make much sense. Other than I can understand losing regeneration versus gaining it, but yeah, he should be able to just like hypothetically use his Ninja Tech shield because it's his offense, just use it defensively, and it should just work.
What did Amato say he was doing specifically? Like, what was his words?
He said that he maxed out his defensive and recuperative powers before the recent chapters. So what he was doing, which came at the cost of his offense. Now Kawaki said, Amado, I want you to convert all that into offensive power. And then Amado was like, well, Kawaki, if I do that, I can't guarantee your survival because I maxed that out. And Kawaki's like, I don't care. Max my offense, basically. So
basically,
yeah.
Basically.
So I guess the nanites in his body made him physically strong, like physically more durable from what Amato did than they normally would be on a baseline.
And then amped his reset too.
How it plays out can only make sense if, like, for example, his scientific ninja sword arm, it's sharper, aka the edge is sharper, but that means that it's also thinner, which would be able to be destroyed easier.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but the problem is, but how does that like apply to like everything else?
Well, everything else doesn't matter because I don't see why Kawaki having access to cubes would mean he can't heal anymore. The two things aren't related. And so if you're going to say he has better offense because, he has faster twitch muscles, his arms are bigger, they're stronger, that doesn't mean he would be weaker defensively. Everything
I agree. That's why it's weird as a concept for this series.
So
it is weird.
It affect the chakra in this regard.
Yeah,
it's very yeah. It is really weird. I don't really.
That's the only way it makes sense. Not gonna do that.
But then again, Amado shouldn't be worried. Then would be a problem to do this. But also, Udi, let's think about it this way. If the defense thing doesn't matter, so again, he should be able to just use his defensive chakra offensively. Like, they should just be able to do that, but he can't for whatever reason. So, if he's gonna get stronger, his defensive powers have to be reduced for this to work. Otherwise, there'd be no converting. It would just be the same.
Maybe Kawaki just usually sucks at doing all of these techniques, even with the training with Naruto, and he relies a lot on the baseline stuff that the Scientific Ninja Tools does give him. Maybe he just sucks at this stuff. I don't know. I don't know.
It's just like what this basically implies with Amado. Just kind of like he says if I redirect all that to offensive power, I can't guarantee your survival. So they're sort of mutually exclusive in a way where you can't really, you can amp up one setting over the other, but it's not like both settings can be. It's not like you'll be able to still balance out both settings. You're going to have to sacrifice one for the other. So,
or you just be in the normal medium where it would just be balanced, like normal people.
Maybe. Yeah, because if throughout TBV so I think something tells me that when TBV began, like when I'm guessing as Kawaki got stronger, he needed Kawaki to stay alive, so he started. I think in secret, Obito started amping up his defensive, or maybe that was already something he did beforehand to kind of keep Kawaki alive, so he can implant the Karma Seal into Akibi. But
it had to have been beforehand. There's no moment where that could have happened in TBV.
Yeah, because that has to explain why Kawaki is just feels like so much more durable. I mean, not feel, but he
doesn't actually is the problem, but
I don't know. I think he so when Amado just pretty much maxed up his defensive settings, tried to keep him alive, giving him near limitless regeneration. Like if he just like sacrifices all of that to, redirect all, I would say, that energy to his offensive, just like boost up his offensive settings, then I mean Kawaki would still be, I'm guessing Kawaki would still be somewhat durable, but he won't be as, durable. I mean, not really durable, but as durable. Yeah, I think as durable as he was before. I don't know how else to put it.
But here's the thing, though. Like, so whereas, he should have some durability. Like, because it really just depends on, like... So, obviously, Kawaki didn't have 0 offense before, so he shouldn't have 0 defense now. That wouldn't make sense. But let's just consider his durability from before. 1 punch from Boruto, not trying. Have him just, the crowd rolling in pain. 1 kick from Jura's got him knocked out. Okay, so if all it takes is 1 punch from Boruto to have him just gawking in pain, what's one punch from Boruto gonna do now? Blow him up.
He was in base, and I think he started activating Karma. And same thing when he was fighting up against Jorah. He was in base, he activated Karma, and he still got 2-pieced up by him. So it was just like, ooh, I don't know.
I think the only way they're realistically going to be able to portray this limiter thing is what they did with when he was knocked out, quote unquote, versus Jorah, and Delta said he woke up really fast. They're just going to have him wake up with a really long cooldown time now. He's going to be passed out for chapters on end.
It would be cool if he got hit.
And the cooldown time wasn't even impressively fast because they didn't give us a timeline for how long he's knocked out compared to anyone else.
Yeah.
And if the only thing we can do for comparison is when Damon knocks both Boruto and Kawaki out, and I've already said this in a video, but Kawaki was knocked out first, then Boruto's knocked out, and Boruto wakes up first. So for what we've seen, Boruto's waking up consciousness speed is just better than Kawaki's.
Just further indication, limited over the time skip.
Well, no, it could just be that Kawaki is bad.
I think how it'll probably manifest itself is that he'll be a beast offensively, and that'll probably manifest to his speed and whatnot. He'll be like blitzing, slamming Jura around by his head or whatever. It'll look very impressive, but he can't get hit. Maybe like if I take 3 shots, if I take like 2 more of these hits, like I'm done. So like you gotta make sure you gotta protect me. Almost like Mike Guy when he was fighting against Madara, like offensive beast, but like we gotta protect this dude on the defensive end. And through that way, I think that'll be pretty good writing for Kawaki for the meantime.
Here's another thing that they could probably do. Like anytime Kawaki gets hit, he has like an inner monologue, like saying, "I like legit broke bones." From Joe's hits, where like that wasn't really like a thing before.
It's like Rock Lee, like this is nice, but like he can't sustain this like upper tier of power because his whole body's getting destroyed in the process. But
so like if he gets hit in the stomach, his ribs literally like broke.
Right.
Yeah,
like that, I think that could be a way they can demonstrate that.
Have him just blow up.
Like Blackbeard from
have him have broken bones, or he gets stabbed and he's like,
internal
"This
injuries.
is really dangerously damaged. I cannot take another hit." That's enough, but you gotta do that.
You can even have his arms break. There's ways that you can do it without being too gory.
I agree. Yeah. Just have him have broken bones. Like he literally does. You don't have to show the bones. Just have him say that one broke like 3 ribs as opposed to no ribs being broken. And so most of the time he's just gonna dodge. Like if you remember Deepa in the anime when he's fighting like Omoi's squad, he's just dodging for most of the fight. And he's just showing off how fast he is. Just have Kawaki do that. Just keep dodging everything.
I think effectively for Kawaki, everyone's going to be Shigaraki from My Hero. And if you haven't seen that, I'm not going to spoil too much. But effectively, you don't want this guy to touch you. So everybody who's fighting him is constantly fighting offensively and like avoiding his touch. I think that's how Kawaki. Everyone's going to be like that for Kawaki at the top tiers. He's going to have to fight like that, but can nobody touch him? I think it's going to kind of look like that maybe.
I'll also add that Kawaki has, in addition to just speed amps, he has the perfect ability, Sukuna Hikona, to avoid a lot of hits. Like, he can shrink pretty much all jutsu, he can shrink pretty much all weapons, so that will help Kawaki avoid being hit 99% of the time, so you don't have to deal with this. But you just need to show us the one time he gets hit, what happens. That's all they have to do.
Right.
I want to see him use big chakra rods, like Vegan. Like,
I do think it's gonna be just
That'd be cool.
he's gonna react to it the same way literally anyone else would, because I don't think that like this defense is worse than normal. I think it's just normal, and everything else, like the limiters, quote unquote, it was just a plus to his defense before, nothing added to his offense. Now it's only a plus to his offense, nothing added to his defense. Just Kawaki's normal defense.
Yeah.
Whatever his normal defense is, his heightened defense wasn't even sufficient or impressive. So this is bad news regardless.
Yeah. That's why it's just a problem writing-wise. But I disagree with that, Udi, though, because Amino didn't give him anything to amp his defense, from what he's explained, anyway.
I mean, on the page right here, it says you're currently endowed with near immortal defense and recuperative powers. What does endowed
so the question
mean?
Is, how did he do that? Because what did he give him to do that?
Duh! It's right there!
But I'm asking, what did he give him?
He probably just altered the nanites in his body or something.
Yeah, altered the nanites. So then the question is, what did he alter? Because what they're implying, at the very least, what they're implying now is he's gonna, he said, Amino and Kawaki both said fully offensive. So, I mean, taking that at face value would just mean 100% offense, 0% defense.
Yeah,
in terms of endowment of his
that is what they're saying.
In terms of his nanites.
Did they even imply, because I haven't reread it, like, are they implying that he's going back to normal, or is he going further beyond what he was even before?
The latter.
Like,
the latter is what they've implied.
Well, I don't think they've implied either.
Yes,
I don't
they
think
have.
they implied.
I'm just making an assumption.
No, bro. He said, I'm telling you to make me an even bigger, badder monster than the Shinju in Boruto, which Kawaki in the Codarc was not stronger than Jura. And then he says, use any means, whether scientific or otherwise, to make me stronger beyond all limits. That's not what he was before.
Use any means. Yeah. Use any means, Kamui, whether scientific or otherwise.
Do you guys think do you guys think maybe Boruto can give Kawaki his karma through like resonance?
Boruto can give.
Well, he already has karma, so
like he can he can well, sorry, he can kind of like So I'm trying to figure out like what resonance, what is even happening with that, and is it still at play? I'm just trying to figure out ways like, number one, what is that, and then number two, like how can I boost Kawaki without using Boruto physically, because he seems to be kind of
Kamui has the most boring answer to this.
Okay.
Hey.
Kamui, take it away.
Well, Udi, what's your
I was opening the floor to you, Kamui, the same way you were opening the floor to me earlier.
No, what's your boring answer from you? Or a not boring answer from you. I don't even know what you were expecting me to say.
Okay. Well, since Kamui doesn't want to give his answer, I guess I'm going to have to be the one to give Kamui's answer. So, resonance...
let's hear you say something wrong. Go ahead.
Resonance, as Kamui puts it, is whenever Kawaki uses his karma, Boruto uses his karma. Vice versa. That's resonance. That's all it's ever been. That's all it will be. That's resonance.
I never said
really more so.
That is all it has been.
I was kind of thinking.
That is mostly how it's ever been. But...
I was kind of thinking like the whole like they can amplify each other, like the Boro fight.
Oh, but they did that by actively touching one another.
Yeah, I think the karma's activating is a side effect of resonance.
My whole idea is that like their powers with this stuff has advanced. So the reason why I'm saying like give his karma to Kawaki, what I meant was resonance, like in the Boro fight, but
I see.
through Wi-Fi
Okay.
instead of
All right, I get it. Okay, I get what you mean. Oh,
Yeah,
I never
yeah,
even thought
that's
about
definitely-
that. I never even thought about
How
that.
would he do that? Is the
I have
question.
no idea.
How would he do the
Sure.
true Wi-Fi part?
I
Well,
don't
Does Kawaki have
know.
any form of like absorption?
Sorry.
Say that again.
Does Kawaki
Huh?
have any form of absorption?
He has
Yeah,
karmic
the normal
absorption.
karma absorption.
Okay, he's going to absorb the karmic chakra out of Boruto. Boruto doesn't use his
that-
karma now.
Is that even possible?
He has a
Honestly, though, honestly,
Wait.
it should be. Like, if he just puts his hand on Boruto and then just absorbs Mobushiki's chakra, like, why not?
Well, just think about it like this, right? Like when they do resonate, like the was it Goro fight? They weren't touching, but yet his karma could activate his. Whatever that mechanic is, just use that for the transference process I'm talking about in my hypothetical. That's all you
Yeah.
would do.
Well,
I
plus
feel
the
I think
karmas were like
Kakuti's,
acting different there.
Kawaki absorbing karma thing's the best, though, because Boruto probably doesn't want to risk activating his own karma to do this. So, Kawaki just
Well-
stealing it
well-
on the other end.
In this way, in my way, it wouldn't require some kind of time interval process. Because I would imagine it wouldn't be instantaneous. And if his defenses are lower for heightened offensive power, then you wouldn't want him just standing around or wasting time. This way, Boruto can give him the power while he still actively is in combat. But yeah, just some thoughts.
Yeah,
I like
I
that
would
idea.
say whenever resonance is happening, the karma activating, quote unquote, it's different. The karma itself is different from how it is normally. As an example, it's like hurting Boruto whenever it's activated that way.
Not always.
It's like
Not always,
ringing
yeah.
as well. It's like glowing too, or the
Not
normal.
Well,
always.
that was during the first time it had happened properly, and that was like a new sensation for Boruto, and stops doing that like
That's
every
okay.
other
I mean,
time.
it also glows against Shoujoji. You gonna say there was resonance there?
Well, resonance is just weird in the first place.
We agree.
Yeah.
But I do think my theory for resonance, it's always been whenever a karma seal resonates, both karma seals are massively increasing their data download speed when it's
That's not a
resonating.
theory that's stated, or at
Oh.
least it's Abado's theory at the very least.
There's an animal in the shed.
So that's
Ooh.
my resonance idea.
Okay, but when they're already fully downloaded, like so for Boruto now, he can't download more.
I didn't say that's all I thought. It's just the one I lean towards.
Well, what else do you think?
I think it could be a number of things, but Mello, what do you think?
You don't want to tell me.
All
You know
right.
what, Immortal? What do you think? Because Melo's muted.
I think I want to move on to another topic now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
So
sorry.
it's tough.
It's
Oh, you host this one.
I'm sorry.
I liked
I don't.
what Mello brought up. That was nice. But let's
Yeah.
move on to something else. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just right now I'm trying to keep myself. I'm trying to move myself around so I won't fall asleep. I've been. It's like it's just sitting in a chair for 2 hours straight. It's very taxing on my brain, including including my body as well. Like probably not really my body, but just my eyes in general. Ugh.
Let's get you in on this one, Immortal. Let's get you riled
Okay.
up. What's the next topic?
All right. So I have.
Lead the way.
So we got Boruto's Karma Evolution, Mobushiki's influence, and the second one, which I think I really do want to talk about, is Shibai Otsutsuki the true in-game villain? Which one do you guys want to start off with? Boruto's Karma
What
Evolution,
makes you say? I'm curious about that last one. What makes you say Shibai will be a villain?
I personally don't think Shibai is a villain. But considering that a lot of people in the Boruto community has theorized that maybe he could be the big bad, I mean, I just want your thoughts and your takes on what that could
Well, I've
be.
always thought that Shibai isn't going to care about any human, and
Yeah.
Rather, it's going to be the humans, if they ever reach Shibai's realm or whatever, they're going to be the ones antagonizing him, and he's going to respond, which makes him the villain, if we're going to go that route. Because Shibai has the Otsutsuki Creed. He's the one that made the ideology in the first place. He's the one that's taken it the furthest and literally transcended. Like, there's no getting around it. Amado just says, assuming the Shibai even exists, but assuming that the story's correct, Shibai just went planet to planet, absorbing all life and devouring it. He did do that. He is evil, quote-unquote, from, like, our ninja perspective. From the Otsutsuki's perspective, he's God. He's the number one angel, perfect saint of all time. He's perfect. He did it. And that's what you should strive to be. And Shibai thinks that way about himself, seemingly, as well, as far as we're aware. So he isn't going to care about anything since he's already transcended. He doesn't need to have that Otsutsuki mindset. But because he did have it and transcended, and I have no reason to assume he changed his mind or anything, if we ever get Shibai, he's not going to care, but we're going to care, and that's going to make him care.
So,
yeah,
in my eyes, him just sacrificing worlds to attain, like, to make god trees and eat chakra fruits and just keep getting more power and just ascending. To me, that in itself is evil, because you are taking the life of an entire planet and potentially the lives of some species that resides within that planet. And
yeah, but Shibai doesn't think that way, clearly.
Shibai doesn't think that way. Creatures. Shibai doesn't think that way, but we do. And I do. Because in a way, you are killing life to ascend to godhood. And even after you ascend to godhood,
inferior life.
I mean,
what's the question?
Is Shibai the true end game?
So you guys talking about evil?
Well, what I was talking about was what I was talking about was Shibai sacrificing planets and just eating chakra fruits and just ascending and like getting stronger and ascending into godhood. Me personally, like, even like, I think that's, to some Otsutskis, that's not evil. That's just the standard to how to become a transcendent Otsutsuki god. But to us humans, which they would consider inferior beings, to us that's evil, because you are taking the life of not just a planet, but potentially the entire species that resides within that planet to ascend to godhood, with the chance of you not really caring even after you ascend to godhood, or maybe you just can't really interact with the human world as much as you would like. I don't know how Ikimoto is going to go about doing that, but I don't know. I don't think Shibai would become the true in-game villain, like what Udi said. I don't think he's going to care all that much until either Boruto or some other character within the series is going to ascend into godhood in the same way Shibai did. Potentially maybe make him care or do something that can make him act. Or maybe it could be some other external factors. Maybe Immortal may have one of his abilities, and not really one of his abilities, but potentially a dojutsu of his that belongs to him. Maybe it was taken from him. I don't know how it's going to happen. That's probably going to make Shibai do something, but I don't know.
He sure is taking his time, considering that Ada took his omnipotence.
So
I mean, yeah, I don't think he cares that much about that. It probably has to be something like something that Shibai really cares about. But
I think Shibai is like. Yeah. I'm sorry. Continue. Yeah.
Oh no! Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. Well, obviously, evil is going to be subjective. I don't think there's any like objective way of measuring it. And then also, you would also take into consideration intent, which I think the little that I did over here is maybe what Udo kind of alluded to. If from his perspective what he's doing isn't evil, then it's not really evil objective. Well, it's not going to be evil objectively one way or the other, but it wouldn't be evil from him, so you wouldn't like be able to measure that aspect of the character, if the character even exists. Which gets you to like the whole like definition of his name and whatnot. But no, it's interesting. I wouldn't want Shibai to be a final villain personally. The power level is a little too high, so which means you would have to get like at least Boruto and them that level. So it's kind of ridiculous. So he's either like Wizard of Oz, like we're gassing him up. He's not really what he actually is, or he needs to be like a kind of like a Hagoromo kind of figure. I think.
Yeah.
Yes, that. So that's where I fall as well. I don't think we're fighting Shibai at all. I don't think he'll be an antagonist, nor will he be a villain. I don't think he's going to be either. I think he'll just be a figure that the characters might talk to, who might drop some lore about something, but he's never going to be a figure that's ever going to be antagonistic, because I don't think he cares. I think he's meant to be someone who's just so significantly above all this. Even if they tried to fight him, I just simply don't think that he would care. And I don't know if he's not doing anything and they're not pressing him, I don't know why the characters would just fight him either. I don't think Shibai's meant to be somebody that's meant to be stopped. I think he's just a figure within the story, like Mello said, and Ood said.
The other perspective on that is that, like, let's just be a little bit practical. So Shibai is an all-powerful god who can do whatever he wants. Unless every character is gonna be omnipotent themselves. Like, what is stopping Shibai from snapping his fingers and killing everyone but hypothetically omnipotent Boruto, leaving only Shibai and Boruto left alive? Like, if they really want to rile up Shibai that much, it is a lot easier for him to end everything.
The only way I see Shibai actually being a figure that, like, we fight within the series is if he, like, he makes an amalgamation of, like, his consciousness into a separate body and makes that body onto this plane. But like, I don't know why he would do that. He
doesn't want to blow up the Earth either because he cherishes it like Kaguya with Earth or something like that. Like,
yeah,
which could explain how
he could
strong. Yeah,
but you are right. A lot of people do think Shibai will be the final villain. I don't know why, but I don't think he's going to be.
Well, Son, what makes you think if Shibai is above all this that he'd choose a side in the first place?
That he would choose a side in the first place? I didn't say that he'd choose a side.
Well, you're saying that he's going to be like a Hagoromo figure.
No, what he meant was that like, they might talk to him and gain some lore, but like he might do that like
I don't think he's
as an
help
unbiased person on neither side. He could still do that.
Yeah.
Like hypothetically, let's just pretend it was Jura versus everyone. He could talk to both Jura and Boruto, kind of thing.
Like the context
won't be Shibai's going to talk to both sides?
Sorry, what?
Do you think Shibai's going to talk to both sides? Because Hagoromo only talked to one side. In fact, he helped one side despite being a godly figure.
That's what I was going to talk about the example, though. He talks to both Naruto and Sasuke, where at the time Sasuke had antagonistic plans.
That's not what I meant by
Hagoromo, both sides that were against Kaguya.
I didn't mean that.
I didn't mean
it like that either.
The context would be exactly the same, or I mean, like just a figure like that, like the advisor or the lore giver or the exposition giver or the it
somebody
doesn't
actually
mean
fight within the story.
Yeah, or maybe he's like using them or something like that. But that type
I wasn't responding to what you said and only what Sauron said because I literally didn't hear what you said. I just wasn't here at the time.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't mean that he's gonna help anyone. I didn't say that he was gonna help anyone. But I just meant similar figure to Hagoromo, not in the sense of utility within the plot. Like he's gonna actively help our characters defeat this event. I didn't mean that's not what I meant by Hagoromo figure.
So
they could also do a thing to where there just is another god who just is evil, and Shibai is largely fighting. So they make an example with like Hunter x Hunter Chimera Ants. Netero fights Marum while everyone else is fighting the people they can actually fight. Like, so they could have Shibai versus Fleabai, and Fleabai's underling Ishiki fights, everyone else. They could do that sort of thing.
Spoiler alert.
Fleabai.
Or Heibai.
Sorry to spoil Fleabai.
Imagine if Shibai had a brother named Heibai.
Or Rebibe, like Rebarb.
Yeah, Shibai and Heibai.
He says hi and goodbye at the same time.
D-Ride?
Anyways.
So So you guys have Kawaki over Ishiki, right? Just to be clear, we all on the same page.
Yes,
Yeah.
The agenda. We
I
got,
do.
Would be.
I think he's over Ishiki now.
Well, like I said,
I
I'm
think
not.
it kind of depends.
Okay,
it
well, okay.
depends on
Entertaining
whether
what
or
we
not
were
Come
saying
on,
earlier.
come on, get on board with the agenda, okay?
So,
Okay.
going with what we were saying earlier, Mello, did you give us? I think you did. I think you said in the stance earlier for the first topic, you said that current Kawaki just dominates code.
What? I don't think I was here for the first topic. Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
wasn't here.
So, do you think the current Kawaki dominates the current code, or like, how do you think that would play out in general?
I don't have
Like, do you think
enough
he's
data.
stronger?
I need to see something. I literally have nothing
Okay.
to go out. I won't say I have nothing.
I'm glad we're on the
but,
same page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just need more. Yeah, I need more.
Okay.
My stance on the Kawaki thing is just as simple as I do think it's possible for him to be stronger in this current Karma form than Ishiki, but I'm on the fence as to whether or not he needs Karma 2 to actually fully eclipse him. But I do think my stance right now is just simply that I do think he will be stronger than him, even in this current Karma form, but we'll see if that actualizes in that way. Oh my gosh, I'm getting bitten by bugs.
Well, we see that limited code is losing to Kawashiki. Unlimited code is beating Sasuke. Two Blue Vortex, we got Code and Boruto. They fight. You can argue they're relative. You can argue they're over. That doesn't really matter for the sake of this discussion. Now you have Kawashiki coming in. How do you think he's going to stack up to Jura in comparison to what Boruto was doing? And I'm not going to count his off-guard feat because of what I just said. Off guard.
Who's Kawashiki? Who's that? We still doing
Karma
that?
2. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like similar to
Curious.
Boruto and Momoshiki when they take over, but
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
how he scales the Ishiki depends on two main factors. One is, did 100% of Ishiki's data ever fully extract on a Kawaki, or is only 80% there? And two, what exact measuramental differences of Kawaki's defense versus offense was done with this offensive boost adjustment? Because those two factors are going to determine whether he's stronger than Ishiki.
Well, here is something interesting. Based on the mechanics of Karma that we understand, if you in base become stronger than the Otsutsuki who overlaid Karma on you, when you use Karma, do you get stronger?
Probably.
Why?
Just to be adding onto it. You're not going to get weaker.
Yeah.
I always think it's an addition.
Yes.
So if your base went from
Yeah.
a 5 to a 10, you're always going to get, and the boost that you get is a 5, you'll always go. So if you're a 5, you'll get a 10. If you're a 10, you'll get a 15. If you're at 15, you'll get a 20.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the stronger the base
Um,
becomes, the less meaningful that amp will be, but it's always there.
You know,
I don't even think that's the case. I think it's always going to be a plus.
So let's
So-
just say,
what I'm
like,
saying is like a 95 versus 100 is not as much of a difference as a 5 versus a 10.
so let's just say tuning exams 1010 just woke up one day and the craziest Kekkei Genkai of all time, she has Karma. What do you know? She implemented that onto current Kawaki. I don't know, just randomly. And Kawaki uses that Karma seal. He gets stronger.
Yes. Not by much.
Very minimally
That's quite
so. But yes, he does get stronger.
He's
It's-
10 plus. He's Kawaki
It's
plus
such
10.
it's such a minuscule amp, like it would do almost nothing. But yes,
No, I think it's a good amp. She was able to
I
use
mean,
the
it
6 pass
very
sacred
well
treasures.
might make the difference in some of his fights, but
There's enough chakra to get the 6 pass sacred treasures. It's impressive. Plus, you also got to take into
But
consideration.
they like sucked all of her chakra out though. She could barely use the damn thing.
hey, if Kawaki gets one extra use of that fan, that might be the difference of his winning.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think
Okay,
about
well-
this, though?
you
Sorry, what do you think about this? You guys were having a conversation earlier about like Borshiki and like who's using chakra or something like that. But do you guys think like when they get chakra from the karma from the Otsutsuki, are they getting like chakra that's limited by kind of like the gates, or are they getting like the complete unfiltered chakra, like 100% of it, unfiltered by the gates?
So that's hilarious. I don't think Ikimoto even considered the gates when it comes to this, but
He said like the gates.
No, but the point is, so I don't. I don't.
Well,
think
the point
Ikimoto
isn't the
considered
gates.
this, but ignoring that.
Well, because we're talking about like your chakra, like if you took Boruto's chakra off his body, it's gonna be exponentially more than what he actually uses because of the body's limiters. So like, how much are they getting? Are they getting all of that chakra? In which case, it might be difficult for them to store it, which is probably why they're having like problems.
What I'm thinking is,
maybe you know where I'm going with this. Maybe you don't.
what I'm thinking is, it would be like the gates are released because inside karma, like that, the little patterns on your arm, there would just be no gates, presumably. It's just the pure chakra, so it should be unfiltered. So it would be like the gates being released because there just is no gate in the first place.
Didn't mean the gates.
It's like something like that. Yeah.
So he means are you going to get all of the chakra or a limited amount of the chakra? An example
as
being
much
the
chakra
gates.
as the data's been extracted. So if you have 80%, you're going to get 80% max. If you have 100%, you can use 100%.
See, the problem with that, though, is then how do you get to the compatibility of the vessel, which is where I'm assuming that Mello was going with that, getting back to Himawari versus Naruto and the compatibility of the Jinchuriki to the Wild Beast.
What does that have to do with the unfilteredness? The compatibility would just be based off of, is the vessel strong enough to withstand this power and or potentially same wavelength theory?
Yeah, but so then how does the compatibility play out in terms of strength, since I'm assuming Jigen would care about that? So for the Tailed Beast, we know that Naruto can extract 100% of Kurama's chakra. He did it when fighting Sasuke at the end of Shippuden. Kurama fell asleep, giving him all of his chakra. Baryon mode, again, uses all of the chakra. So it can't be that. Is it the density of the chakra, the quality of the chakra? How does that compatibility play out? And then would it be the same for vessels in terms of the karma?
So do you want the actual answer or do you want a hypothetical answer?
Oh, I don't know.
So the actual answer, I do not think Ikimoto was thinking about compatibility, amplification nonsense like he did with Himawari and Kurama at all at any point before Himawari and Kurama, and it was not present for any of these karma things. But hypothetically, it could have an influence, given that it is the case for Himawari and Kurama. So in theory, they could have it with Otsutsuki and the vessel too. But I don't think Ikimoto wrote that, or Kodachi.
I think Ikimoto was continuing what Kodachi wrote here with Ishiki and Kawaki, which is similar to Orochimaru and Sasuke, to where, yes, Jigen's an imperfect vessel to the point to where he's going to die in 3 days, but I don't think it's just in reference to dying in 3 days. I think Kawaki is a vessel far and above the rest of the immortal vessels who wouldn't die in 3 days, to where Kawaki just would be stronger than the other vessels because he's just that perfect.
I mean, maybe, but that's not what Kodachi wrote.
I'm assuming that he's very heavily borrowing from Orochimaru and Sasuke.
I mean, technically, so Sasuke thing has like Sharingan Uchiha stuff, but like the point was to have a vessel that doesn't die, like to a large extent, which is the case for Ishiki.
I have
but even if you want to go with that assumption, again, maybe that was Kodachi's idea down the line, but in terms of what he actually got around to writing, he never wrote that, and we know damn well Ikimoto is not using Kodachi's stuff now, because we meme about it every stream, how he's gone out of his way to retcon as much of Kodachi's stuff as possible.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he can retcon 100%.
Okay, he can definitely do a lot more than what he's done.
I would also say it is the same thing with Orochimaru and Sasuke, then.
What's the same?
Oh, okay.
Are you saying...
Mello's question.
Oh, yeah. No, so I was going to say, like, because I'm desperately trying to get us past Ishiki so we can progress in the story in terms of at least scaling. So, with Ishiki Otsutsuki...
Yeah. Well, out of curiosity, sorry, but why are you desperate for that?
Because I hate this character. That's one thing. So I'm biased against the character.
Okay.
I can't stand the character. But two, it's just I hate the framing of it because I genuinely think when Damon's referring to Jigen, he's referring to Ishiki. That's just how he knows him. So why would he call him Ishiki? When he knows him as Jigen. But at the same time, you can't prove it. So it's just a frustrating little stun lock we've been in for years now that I'm ready to get past. Is all.
What do you mean he knows
nice
him as
little,
Ishiki?
nice little conundrum.
Well, it just seems like
He said knows him as Jigen.
yeah, like he should it's like if you had like if your friend Jack is now Jane, you're probably gonna call him Jack or call her Jack for a few times until you get acclimated to. It's just what you're used to referring to the person. If that was a
Yeah, it's like how
appropriate
Code,
example.
Koji, Yamato all call him Jigen, even though they know he's Ishiki.
Well, that's not
Yes,
what I
like,
meant. I
so-
meant, are you
Yeah.
implying that like Damon knew Ishiki before he got Jigen's vessel, or something, or his power?
Well, I am going off of memory, but just insert or replace Damon with any other character that would fit the bill, and then the thing will be applicable. But so just like I was curious, like Ishiki's level, is this like a consistent level? Like what do you guys think that where that is? Because when I think of Ishiki, I'm thinking like this should vary. Because he's constantly like, do you think he's constantly getting weaker over time, or do you think that's like it doesn't really matter that he's progressing towards death?
That's how it feels, the latter, to me.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
It feels like he's just dying rather than getting... I mean, he's technically going to be lower and lower in chakra, but I don't think Ishiki ever got to the point that he was, oh, I'm running low on chakra, I'm going to start getting slower and be unable to use jutsu. I think he was just dying before that was ever going to happen.
So you link his death to his chakra consumption, correct?
No. I link his death to his body breaking down, and then Baryon mode life force shenanigans.
Okay, so you're not under the assumption that like the more he uses his chakra, the more he would progress towards, the quicker he would progress towards his death.
It's a possibility, definitely, and it may play a factor, but I don't think it's the main factor.
Yeah, because again, his body started even without. Maybe I'm misremembering this because I think we've even talked about this before. Maybe I misremember this, but
We have.
didn't he literally say that he only had hours left, and he should
Well,
have
he
had a
said
lot more than that
generously,
even
he
before.
thought it was going to be 2 to 3 days, but he's like, even conservatively, I should have had at least 20 hours left.
So can I kind of run through the thing? So
Wait, is that what he says? Okay.
Yes.
so he says like I'm brimming with power, but that's precisely why I have so and so time left. I don't remember the thing, but you do. So I was under the assumption like it's kind of like Kagi and Madara, like all this chakra is the reason why like the body's breaking down.
Yes.
And then you have like Baryon modes, like our chakra, like the mechanic, our chakra is being consumed, but because of that, we can punch him and then link us to him, and then like kind of consume his chakra at the rate that ours is consuming, if I remember that correctly. So, but my whole point was
specific
like
explanation
his
they
life
gave
force was
there
tethered to
that
chakra.
It was specifically that they would be shaving off his life force because all chakras connected. And you could say the argument is Ishiki's chakra is getting consumed, but that's not why his life force is being drained. His life force is being drained because their life force is being drained, essentially. That's how it's explained.
Yeah. So
Chakra's not a life force
So
in this context.
It's not 100. It's heavily associated, yes, but it is not the same thing.
So doesn't Ishiki saying even conservatively he should have at least had 20 hours left imply that like him fighting like this does drain his life force faster?
You could interpret it that way, but you could also interpret it as he actually expected 2 to 3 days, but he was saying, at the very least, I should have had at least 20 hours. You could also interpret it.
I guess it depends on exactly what he said, because I don't fully remember the exact phrasing. But that I guess that could work based off how I remember it, but I don't know exactly. I don't remember word for word what he said.
In which scene?
Okay.
I mean, I'll just go pull it up and read it to you.
So like chakra
Chapter
consumption,
52.
if you're Naruto and you lost like 50% of your chakra from Momo in the anime, like, so are we saying that that's not really affecting him in any way? That's
Personally, I think
substantial?
it's primarily entirely his stamina that is obviously going to be half, or at least Kurama's, but not so much everything else. Because, for example, Sasuke, this is the easiest example. Sasuke during the Chunin exams / Konoha Crush could use 2 Chidoris before he was basically out of chakra. When he is not way slower. No, he's exactly the same in every way. It's only when you get to those really low, like, I'm just throwing out hypothetical numbers, 10, 20% maybe. That's where you start to see the noticeable dip in, your speed, strength, everything. But like 50% from what we've seen from many characters, they are just fine. They are still able to do because the point is every like run and jump punch you do, you're not using all your chakra. You're using like 0.5% for that move. So you're just going to sustain that over, let's just say 20 minutes. If you have 50%, okay, you can fight at that same level for 10 minutes now. You notice in Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki, they fight at seemingly their max levels, they're using their max forms, but they don't fight for very long. They get out of their, like, that fight, especially in the movie and manga, is quick. They do a couple moves, and then they're just out of their forms, and then they never go back into them. So
what's the association? So is the association between life force and, because you said chakra and life force aren't the same. So is the association that the more chakra I use, the more strain on my physical body, the lower my life force? Like, what's the association?
So the reason why it's associated is because life force and physical energy are associated, but even that isn't entirely the same, because you can drain your physical energy in like just day-to-day working out, but you're not necessarily draining your life force when you do that. And then, but ignoring that for a moment, physical energy is one of the components of chakra.